Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Happy Saturday. I hope I sound good. Different mic because this is probably as good as the sound's getting. I'm not wearing the cat ears. I got people in the store coming and going for the next 3 hours, so no cat ears because I need to be able to hear everything around me. I tested this microphone before. It sounded great. This is what the show is going to sound like. Welcome to the weekly Saturday Overnight Live edition. This is for March 15th, the Eyes of March. They got Caesar, but they didn't get me. Here's Brad, right on time.
Yeah.
That's a joke. He's not. Real quick programming notes for the next couple of days. We had spoken the last couple of days, if you had been watching the show, that we were going to be doing Leprechaun in the Hood and some other things. But as I looked at the dates and stuff that needs to be done on certain dates, we are going to do a stream tomorrow night that will lead into midnight. That part of that stream will be Leprechaun in the Hood. We'll do a normal Sunday night live stream, but it will lead into Leprechaun in the Hood at midnight because on Tuesday it will be March 18th at midnight. So going into the Monday night show, midnight show, that will be when we are going to launch a fundraiser, another leg of our fundraiser, and we're going to do what's appropriate for that day, which is March 18th, and watch Zack Snyders Justice League. Yes, I know we've all seen it 1,000 times, but this is a fundraiser. We're not really going to be watching the movie in that regard. I think we've all seen it at this point, but we are going to be trying to raise some money. We are trying to get to the 20,000 mark. I think we're at 17 something. I got to look. So I want to start Tuesday, March 18th with something like that. And then the other end of the day, we will do something else. So wrap up. So we will actually be doing fundraising at the beginning of the day, which is 12 a.m. and leading us out into March 19th. So hopefully we raise some money. But yeah, so St. Patrick's Day proper technically is tomorrow night, midnight. We're going to be into March 17th. So we will definitely be doing Leprechaun in the Hood. So I just wanted to give you guys some programming updates. Only have a couple topics today. Like I said in the not the bio, but the description. One of those, we're going to be talking a lot about Absolute DC. Well, that'll be the tail end of the show. But the other one is, since we are headed into that anniversary, and I do want people talking about it as we get towards the fundraising, it is the 4th anniversary of Zack Snyders Justice League, and the difference between 2021 and the mindsets and where we are at in 2025, I think is much different than where we were at. I think some of the fanboy stupidity is given way to just having some fun with some of this stuff. I think that a lot of the executives that are at different levels of DC period, whether it be comic books, animation, whatever, are a lot more open-minded to other things since 2021, actually since 2017. And that also, these two topics that I have up on our thumbnail are they're kind of intertwined, because the reason why we even had to do all that stuff to get a movie done is because the frame of mind, the flawed and boneheaded frame of mind back in the 2013s and the all the way up till maybe 3 or 4 years ago, was a one universe at a time thing, and that we fans were too stupid to be able to distinguish in between what kind of story is being told. In the interim, we've had an entirely different Batman story that is part of nothing but its own thing. We have another universe about to pop up in about 3 or 4 months. And we also have what's going to be the anchor topic tonight. We have Absolute DC. Now, the previous mindset was we can only have one of these things at once. I guess we can only count to one. I guess, one of the key things about retail, any type of retail, never take your customer for a fool. Never take your customer for a fool. They may not know everything, but they know enough for you to be able to bridge a gap. They're not stupid. So in what we've grown to appreciate in the 4 years since we got this movie is they seem to be embracing that. There are people in positions at these companies, this company in particular, that are more open-minded to not blowing everything up. I think that's a good thing. And it's just, coming up on this anniversary, it's just kind of weird to see the damn giveaway. And now we have Absolute Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and we didn't have to destroy any of the mainline titles to get those. The conversation of things happening in other universes on the cinematic level is getting closer to becoming the norm than it was even 4 years ago. 4 years ago, if you just said, "Hey, we could do this here and we could do that there," you would have had the Cro-Mags come up to you, club and all, telling you can't do that. This guy has to do this, and they won't ever do that because it's too confusing. And I've always said that only thing can be confusing if one of two things or both are happening. Your storyteller's a fucking moron, or your audience are fucking morons. I don't think that's ever been the case. I just think certain people took for granted that the other side was too stupid to comprehend. And that's not, these things aren't rocket science, but they're not coloring books either. You have to have a certain aptitude to be involved in this. 8, 9, 10-year-olds understood the DC multiverse back in the 80s. I was 12. I understood what was going on. It wasn't confusing for me, but it was assumed that simplification was best. And a lot of these things had to do with egos, and whoever was riding the chariot at that time wanted to be the one in control of that universe. Jeff Johns is a perfect example. Brilliant creator. I know people have personal issues about him, but I could give a fuck about his personal things outside of what he did on paper, including his time as a film executive, because that wasn't his lane. So I don't really care about that. But as far as him being a creator, when he had an editor over him and someone to say no, he was fine. But when he was, unleashed and made decisions that were going to affect an entire universe, that kind of just joining things, and that's why he was kind of stopped with the Doomsday Clock. So I think it's significant that we're in a different place. Even you go back to 2021, this is a different world. you go back to 2013, what we're going to now would be unheard of. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise some money. To me, the only reason to watch this movie over and over again because actually I can memorize it now. It's a rallying call to raise money for an important cause, and we haven't done one in a little bit, and I don't like going gaps without that. I want to get to that 20 and hit that send button. But it's also fun to look back. And now, like I said, the more I watch come up on these anniversaries, I think eventually it will get easier. I won't look at it with like the animosity and the battle scars that a lot of people do. I think this time next year, we're going to be dealing with a more cohesive and more coherent DC. I think the comics are helping. I think James Gunn being a comic books fan that came from that background would help. And I think the flushing away of a lot of executives that didn't understand and could not comprehend. And who knows, by this time next year, I think we're going to have, we may have a different set of executives who, if they're put into place with the understanding of what the DC IP means across the board, they can be an asset. The next group of people need to understand and have a basic, they don't need to be comic book nerds like me or James Gunn, but they need to have a basic understanding of what these IPs mean and how important it is to build a long-term foundation. We can't do the panicking shit every other movie. It gets old. It wears us down, and it really, really destroys the faith in your product. People aren't going to invest their time. You know, how many, the Swamp Thing, when they announced the cancellation of Swamp Thing,
after one episode.
After worst episode, you know what that did to the remaining episodes? That was done. People don't like to have their time wasted, and they're not going to invest in something like that if it's not a long time. Now, you may have the peaky drinking people that are like, well, just give me a good movie. Listen, let's be honest. The vast majority of people who are going to make up the revenue for these movies, they have been engineered and they have been conditioned for universes. There are some people that are like, just give me a good movie, but that ain't enough. That's not enough to get a light bulb to come on. You know, the people want to know that money that they're putting down is not just for that movie. You're buying into an entire atmosphere. So you gotta stand on it. You gotta come out and say, we're building something. It's gonna take time, and we're not gonna make panic moves. I hope this time next year, whoever is running the show is there, or for whatever reason, DC is there. But yeah, now we're in a whole different thing. I think there are a lot of good things that came from the Zack Snyders Justice League movement, more good things than anything. I also think there's a couple bad things. Now, obviously, for the first one for me, the bad thing is everybody wants the cut released. Whether it makes sense to do it or not, whether it could cost someone a lot of money, whether it could hurt a brand. We're gonna, Batgirl, Wile E. Coyote, things like that. Because Zack Snyder, in a totally different situation, we were able to get this movie out. We want everybody's cut out there, and you know what? 99.9% of the time, that is not the case. That is for the most part. And I know people don't want to believe this, but for the most part, you got a lot of experienced and talented editors and producers who usually get it right. You only really hear about the ones that go wrong when people who don't know what they're doing come in and jam something up, i.e., you get, the whole Justice League situation. But Ridley Scott's one of my favorite directors. Most of his director's cuts I could have gone my entire life without ever seeing. The stuff that eventually got into the film is what I wanted to see. The Aliens director cut, I didn't need that. I did not need the Aliens that made it into the theaters was the only cut I ever needed to see. Donner cut, no. I could have gone 10 lifetimes without that. The one that got released into the theater, both Superman and Superman 2, that was all I needed. So it became kind of a punchline once we got ZSJL and everybody's like, we need to get this. It's all about filmmakers getting this was a rare thing to where not only did you not have the proper people in place, they had an agenda that wasn't good for their own company. So like I said, I think the good thing is that it brought a lot of people together. Zack Snyders Justice League from 2017 to 2021 brought a lot of people together that otherwise would not have met each other. I would not have met the film junkie because I wouldn't have gone looking for him. I would not. You are blinking in and out. I would not have met Chris Long-Swinson. Yeah, I was noticing that. Not me or you, and like it's a subliminal. I would not have met Chris Long-Swinson. I would not have met Brad. I would not have met Wonder Man. I would not have met any of these people because if the movie hadn't been tampered with, it just comes out and it happens and it does this thing. You know, I don't think I'm going to go looking for answers. But we found most of these people found each other because we were looking for answers because I watched the trailer. I watched the certain parts of the extended trailers that they gave us to promote the movie, and there were things in there just like the ones you guys saw on the commercials where we're like, okay, wait a minute, where was this stuff? And then you just felt you wanted to feel good about the movie because it finally happened, but at the same time, as it started to set in, you realize you got hoodwinked. So the good things are that the community came together, and now we're on the other stuff, and it's cool. The other good thing about it is the fundraising we will do. I mean, not just us. I mean, a lot of other people from different platforms have raised money for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. And that is undisputed, regardless to what you think about the movie, the director, some of the screwball fans that are involved. A lot of them on all different spectrums ended up raising a lot of money for this. We alone, like I said, we're trying to cap out at 20,000. Right now, we're about 17,500. That's an amazing for this little putt channel that we have to be able to broadcast and to be able to get that kind of bandwidth. Somebody's getting helped. Somebody, whoever's getting that money, whatever level of AFSC that's getting that organization, that's helping. That's helping educate people. That's helping fund hotlines. That's helping with resources. That makes it so some of these guys can go out and make these type of things that are more of a full-time job than just volunteering. So I think overall, when somebody brings up Snyder Vans and they try to smear us with Snyder Bots, Snyder Bro, and all this stupid shit that they come up with when they run out of words, you can't dispute the fact that for the most part, more good has come from our community than anything. But I'm at a point right now where I'm ready to sit back and watch everything else happen. I think eventually we will get a resolution to the story. I'm not looking for anything other than that. I'm looking for 2 hours. I'm not looking for Justice League 20, 30, 50. I'm not looking for Man of Steel 2, even though we already had a Man of Steel 2. It's called BBS. I'm not looking for all this other stuff. And that whenever you see somebody put the big old wall up and it has all these things, the Restore the Snyderverse, and there's like 1,000 different projects, as somebody who supported it, that I can't look at that anymore. And that's, I'm not even, that was never my desire. My desire is to find out what the fuck happened on Themyscira with Darkseid to lead to that. I want to see the cosmic treadmill. I want to see how this all ends. And then once you give me that, that's cool. Because in any industry, no matter what you are doing, not finishing what you started is sloppy. It's unprofessional. And it really makes you look stupid as the seller of something because you can't be trusted. So, but you know what? Patience got me what we're going to watch here on Tuesday. Strike when the iron is hot, and when there is a target to strike at, I think eventually we get. And like I said, this guy we got in the cockpit right now, James Gunn, I know he gets a lot of hate, but if you are going to get some of these unconventional things that the stuff suits, we're never going to entertain. It's going to be while this guy's there, because I can't even promise you. So if they do panic move, and they were, and they bounce him after whatever, Superman doesn't pull in 10 billion or whatever stupid ass number that they have in their head. And I can't guarantee you the guy who takes his place is going to be as open-minded as the one we have now. If we'd have had this guy back in 2012, once again, we're not sitting here because there's no movement. There's nothing to chase down. So Brad, I know you have a sort of a same, but a different point of view. I want to give you the floor to I want to understand. I want you what it meant to you for it to be released, what the community means to you, and what effect do you think it has on where you sit today, 2025.
Wow, I'm not going to meet me there, or yourself. I'm echoing, so you might want to.
Oh.
Yeah. So I guess I'll kind of start with like what effect it had on me. Well, I mean, like everybody else, I saw the version that they put out theatrically in 2017, and it was it was we were all like trying to like kind of force ourselves to like that version of the movie, and but there was just too much. There been too much like leading up to it, and too much once we saw it of just what we had heard was being changed, and what all the drama behind the scenes, and what we saw in trailers and marketing that just wasn't there, where it just became undeniable that there was just something missing from this. And it took me probably like about a week before I fully said, okay, now I'm on board this train. I'm going to be helping push for this. And that what was it, like 2.5 years I think before like the theatrical version to the announcement of the Snyder Cut. That was what hell of a roller coaster. And it was I was there for the whole ride. I was hashtagging, I was doing it all. I eventually it segued into my professional life, where I started at Screen Rant, which that was kind of the point where it's like a lot of my career in this realm sort of really even though I'd already been freelancing and things like that with other outlets, that's where really kind of started becoming kind of my career, was when I started diving down this rabbit hole of like writing different features, news articles, and what have you about it. So that made it very special to me, because I was kind of able to be on the ground floor of it all, from sort of both ends of it, both as as a fan, and also as somebody who was monitoring it, and kind of chronicling that story as we got to the eventual news of it. And yeah, as William said earlier, I mean, it brought so many people together. William, it's like we stream now, as a byproduct. We know each other now as a byproduct of all that. And again, so many, in both personal and professional ways, it's like there a lot of that whole period like really has like kind of impacted my life, and impacted what I do now, all the way leading up to this point. And like seeing it obviously just as a as a DC fan, superhero fan, like once it came out, which actually I got to see it about 5 days early. So it was about 3 days ago, was the 4-year anniversary for me personally. And that was, I was finally playing the screener a little bit after midnight. And I gone with the family to a baseball game locally, and I get the email, I get the screener. It's like, and I get, it's about midnight when I'm playing it. I don't care. It's like, I've waited this long. I'm playing this thing right now. And, it wasn't quite the same as William, where like his was a little bit later in the evening, and they're literally finishing up the movie while the sun's coming up, but it still kind of felt that way for me. Where again, like
I waited until the actual release date, because like I said, that whole team, I just wanted to be surrounded by people in person.
That was and the thing about it is like, I don't know if I've talked about this as much on like prior watch parties or talk we've done about this. I know I've written about it or made comments in prior writing I've done to varying degrees about this. But the interesting thing about like you watch the movie now, with that whole journey kind of in the rear view now, leading up to its release, there's so many moments in it you can point to now, particularly in the kind of the finale, that they just hit differently because of with the knowledge of what it took to get this movie made. I mean, I think in particular, like the shot of the Justice League standing in the sun triumphantly after being Steppenwolf, because that's how we all felt. That's how the fandom like collectively felt, seeing this movie out there. It was, that's on its own, that would have been like a, even without like all the behind the scenes stuff that happened, that would have been just, just a classic, kind of like 2-page spread team shot. But you add in everything that it took to make this movie a reality, and it's just that image is just like victory. It's just triumph, just made it to an image. And I could list like so many other just little things in that where it's like they play differently, or like the Flash, turning back time. I mean, there's a little bit of an analogy to that. You can maybe like read to like the destruction of Earth, and he's reversing it, and then maybe like read a little bit like, oh, the movie got destroyed and then brought back to life. And yeah, seeing this image like that day, May 20th, 2020.
That's actually a bigger date for me than
March 18th.
Than March 18th. I was that, like I said, I will never forget what we were going through at the time. What just the uphill battle that it was, the everything that had been, we started out in 2017 with literally the jockalopes, the myth, the thing that wasn't supposed to exist may exist, we don't know, and we had nothing to go on. And as it started getting closer and closer and closer, and we started getting these clues, but the day that we were watching that, man, and I was up. I'm not an early bird, but I got up early to watch that. I was watching it on Barrow, but I'm like, you know what? I want to watch. I got a feeling something's going to happen. Film Junkie wasn't on.
We all had a feeling something's going to happen. The writing was on the wall like 4 days in advance.
So Film Junkie wasn't on. I don't believe. I knew Chris Wong Swinton because I watched his show. He said he was going to be on live. So I switched from the Vero broadcast and I switched to his. So I'm watching it on his screen. And, this is a guy that, like I said, had lived and died with the whole movement at the beginning of that one, piecing everything together, made his show entertaining on his little Saturday night live stream. And then when, you just got the feeling when you had all those people on the screen, and then when Cavill's on the screen, then when he flips this over and you see this, it was like I said, the feeling that we got on 3/18/21 is dwarfed by this because this made it real. This made the Bigfoot. This was finding Bigfoot.
Yeah.
This was walking up to Bigfoot, shaking his hand, and you exist. You exist. Everybody made fun of me saying that Bigfoot didn't exist, and now I've invited Bigfoot to the office party, and Bigfoot shows up. There he is. And now it went from being this myth, this ghost that we were chasing, to something that we could actually look forward to get it done. Now, even with the goofy executives and Ann Sarnoff's really stupid move and all that, it will never take away from the 20th of April. Was it 20th of April or May? It was May.
20th of May.
20th of May. I'm sorry.
And I think
we were well into. We were in that nightmare phase of COVID. Yeah. We were in that. We didn't know what the hell was going to go on. There was no hope of a vaccine at the time. It was just
when the movie came out. I mean, things are kind of somewhat stabilized.
We were more closer to normal, but on May 20th, you got to realize that we just celebrated the actual naming of that it was a pandemic a couple of days ago, and that was the 5th anniversary of it. So when May 20th came around, we were in the 5,000 some odd people a day dying phase of it, and we were in the we didn't know anything. And so all we had was these little moments like this. I mean, we were all sitting here watching. And I think that's another thing is the timing of COVID and everything else brought people together. And this was one of those things that helped. But yeah, May 20th, 2020, that was the day. And like I said, it's the only time I can look back during the COVID era. And it's the top thing that was on my mind that day. When that was able to get down. And then when it happened, and then the whole screeners and all that, at the last minute, I got access to one because I'd been trying, and finally I decided that it was that night before everything's kind of went haywire with the screeners. I just decided I was gonna watch it. I invited a group of people. Who I knew were adverse to Zack Snyders movies years ago, just to see where they were at 7 years ago, because it had been 7 years since A Man of Steel came out, and I wanted to see. Did you really hate these movies, or did you even give these movies a real shot? And some of these guys just really had dismissed these movies until we sat down and watched this. There was a lot of changed minds. And by the time we got to 2020, we weren't doing the whole stupid Marvel versus DC thing as bad as we were in 2013 and 2017. So the coolest thing about this is watching the whole comic book movie world change around us. And in my opinion, for the better. It hasn't been pain-free. Trust me. The exiting of these executives that needed to go, that needed to happen. That was a painful process. The ownership, say what you will about Zaslav. The one thing Zaslav has done is he's created a studio we'll never. I don't think we'll ever have to go through what we did, in that time period, because there's a studio head and they understand now that it's got to be somebody that gives a shit about the IPs. It's got to be somebody that actually understands that and what these things evoke. So when you do something with this character, you keep them away for 5 years. It has to be somebody that understands that you can't do what the previous regime did. And I think James Gunn, even if you disagree with his creative decisions, I think he understands. You can hear it and see it, and what he does, that he understands what these characters mean. So that's something to celebrate.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll kind of go on this image again. You go back and watch that video that the day it was announced, on the Vera watch party. Which, first of all, it's like once it was a Man of Steel watch party. Zach was doing the commentary. Deborah was there too. Is similar to the one they had done for BBS about a month or so prior. And once Henry came up, nobody was watching the movie anymore at that point. I think we had like 20 minutes left. But that's when Henry showed up. It's like, just it came to a screeching halt. Like, okay, shit's about to go down here. So it's like, and but go back and watch that. If you go back and watch the,
we will, by the way, on Tuesday we will lead into the not the marathon, the fundraiser. We're going to lead in with that. There's no way. I was going to do it tonight, but I'm like, nah, it's more appropriate.
Well, if you go back and watch that video, actually, right before Zach turns the image around so everybody can see it. If you look closely, you can actually see it reflected in his glasses too. So it's like, so that was kind of like a nice little. I don't know. It's the kind of thing you don't notice until like after it's initially happened. But again, the chatter around it was just it was just, we had the 2-year anniversary event that really kind of pushed it over the edge, and there was rumors from that point. Okay, the studio's considering actually doing this, and then of course we hit COVID drops, but those rumors persist, and within like about a week prior to the announcement, again the talk just got more and more voluminous to the point where again it's like the writing was basically on the wall about 4 days in advance, but we still all went in like
I didn't believe it. The writing was there, but I didn't believe it until I heard it out of his mouth. Even though all signs were leading to it, we'd been running into that brick wall, and we'd been falling for the Lucy and the Charlie Brown ball, and these credible sources and everything. We had been swinging it so long that even when I saw the reflection in the glasses and stuff like that, I wasn't going to believe jack shit until when I turned around and I saw this image, and like I said, my physiology changed.
Like this
time,
yeah, we had Lucy pull the ball away before. This time we kicked the field goal with it.
Yeah, we actually got the ball. We put it through the upright. So I am, like I said, the best thing I can say about it, I am grateful. I can't imagine my life without some of the people that I've met along the way. It's kind of like the Army. No matter what kind of experiences, big, good or bad, I ever had with the Army, the greatest day, the lowest day, it doesn't matter. When you go to these places and you meet these people, whatever way you meet them, they stay with you. If they're the right people, they stay with you. The idiots and the buffoons, you forget about them while you're still talking to them. But the right people, you stay in touch with. The right people, you can refer to a long time. The right people you actually want to meet. And when you finally get a chance to meet them, you go to a different level. And you wouldn't, there are certain moments that, like I said, I wish that we didn't have to. The one hand of me, I wish we didn't have to go through this, because that was absolutely absurd and ridiculous what you had to do to get something made that was a superior product. But at the same time, if we hadn't, then like I said, this show's not happening. There's no vodka. There's a vodka stream because he had it on before, but I'm never gonna know about that.
I remember like seeing some of Dave's, like when he first started the vodka stream. It was kind of like Friday nights, him kind of just shooting the shit with the chat for like an hour of it. It didn't resemble at all what it is now.
Yeah, and it was not. It was the audiences. A lot of people built YouTube careers on that, and for better or for worse. But for the most part, it's like anything that brings people together. You forget about the wrong people, because there's been some shitheads that we ran into. We know on all over. We know them. We know them at the executive level. We know them at our personal level. We know them in our community level. And most of those guys I don't refer to. I've kind of pared it down to the people that we met. And then, like I said, it goes on another thing. It doesn't always have to be about this movie. Once you meet people, that there are other topics that can come up. That once you've built that community, and it goes on, and there's other things you can do. Like I said, I think eventually, once in about maybe a 24-month period, I think DC is going to be an absolute joy to talk about. And it's not just because of the movie. The movies will be part of it, because I think once James Gunn puts his movie out there, and there's an understanding that this guy is on the same wavelength as us as geeks, and heaven forbid he starts entertaining, because I'm going to make a guess. I'm just going to guess that there's amongst all of us that appreciate the DCU, Man of Steel, all these movies. As a filmmaker, I think he probably appreciates them on a level that we'll never understand, and he can actually make things happen. If these movies do well, he can establish an Elseworlds as a brand within a brand, and now we have something we've never had in my entire life as a comic book fan or movie fan, as the on-screen diversity that comes together. No more of this. Oh, we can't do this on TV, and we can't if we're gonna do this. And I'm like, no. You got a guy who wanted to do fucking video games. I don't know. That I think is ambitious, but the fact that he even thought of that and was considering that means his mindset is closer to mine and ours than they are to a stuffed apron or a stuffed suit. That's like, well, no, we can't do this because, and they give you those those dumb reasons. And it's just, we can do a Batman here and it'd be great. And we can do your Batman too, and it will be great. And as long as you are putting out quality stuff. Now, if you start putting out like Mystery Men level, Batman movies and stupid shit like that, then yeah, okay, it's going to become a problem because you're muddying the waters. Or you put like Dumb and Dumber type, Green Lantern and stuff instead of quality stuff, you're going to have, and it's buffoonery like that, then yeah, it's a problem. But if it continues to be quality stuff, and if somebody brings you something like this as an in-game resolution and it's quality and it's written by like a Terrio or a Academy Award winner like that, and it involves people, then 5 years ago, no chance. We had no chance. 7 years ago, you can forget about it. But with a James Gunn with maybe a successful Superman behind him, and he's bringing people in like Lindelof and a lot of the people that he's working with, the Wolverine guy. Why can't I make James Mangold? You're talking about him bringing in people like that are on their face, their own visionaries. When I see him bringing in people like that, that means that he's going to direct this movie. But he didn't bring in those guys because those guys don't operate that way. He's going to give them a basic skeleton of what he's looking for. Those guys he's picked, they tell their own stories. Lindelof tells his own story. Mangold tells his own story. So I'm looking forward to it, but I don't think we would have gotten to where a James Gunn is there without what we went through. Because at some point, somebody had to say, we need to get a fucking comic book guy, or we need to get a guy who understands how these movies are made and appreciates the characters. And like I said, Zazoff tripped over his dick in getting it, but he ultimately, the right guy is in the position. I don't even care how we got here anymore. We got the right guy. And now, like I said, if I'm ever going to get a resolution to what's on that screen, all I'm looking for is 2 hours. James Gunn, if you're watching, by the way, I'm going to get my interview. Before you blew up, I was this fucking close, dude. I was on the phone with Lloyd today, and we were joking about it. Or yesterday, we were joking about it because we're setting up the Toxic Avengers screening, and we're going to bring him out here. And I'm like, hey, I text him. Like, he told me to text you. What did you text you? And he said, okay, I'll get these to him. And then, like, literally a couple of months later, all this shit happened with DC, and I'm like, okay, I'm never getting that interview. But yeah, it's we wouldn't have what we're about to get, what we went through. If everything had been perfect, there wouldn't have been no drastic measures needed, but we had Birds of Prey. We had Shazam 2. We had, the Suicide Squad, for better or for worse, that bombed, but it was still a good movie. But we had all these things that kind of forced the hand of this, there needs to be some type of change. So, we need a studio. For one, because Warner Brothers Pictures, whatever stuff suit you put in there, they're not thinking this way. They're not thinking, what makes sense to some of the people that are going to be watching these movies. And Emmerich and all these other guys, they could care less. They're old Hollywood. Even though James Gunn is hitting near 60, you get the feeling that he's new Hollywood. He's more of a flexible, open-minded, let's try things unconventionally. Just because somebody said you can't do this, I don't care. I'm gonna get. I got a talking tree and a talking raccoon, and I got Polka Dot Man, and I got kaiju in a DC movie. Those aren't conventional things, and even if you don't agree with all of that, the fact that he's willing to try that means that nothing is off the table with this guy. Hell, you Batman Beyond people, you right now you have no case for Batman Beyond, but you got a wild card because you got a guy that gave you Peacemaker. Batman Beyond has more credibility and more of a shot of making it to any screen than Peacemaker ever should, but yet we have Peacemaker. So keep your hopes up for if that ever happens.
By the way, like a lot of this, not the Batman Beyond part, but I mean, a lot of this that we're talking about right now. If you guys had, we were on the Vodka stream last night. We were talking about like a lot of this very stuff last night, kind of relating, which was sort of stemming from me having an article I recently wrote retweeted by Zack Snyder, and a lot of the talk is kind of related to that. So if you guys hadn't seen us on the Vodka stream last night, just go give that look. And we said a lot of the same stuff we're talking about here and there. Now we also got a super chat from Chappie. We're going to pull it up with the phenomenon that was the Snyder Cut. Do you ever think that something like this, to where fans push or something, whatever happen? I'm not sure I understand. You mean?
Yes.
Do you think is he asking will ever happen again, or did you?
Okay, I'm going to answer both ways. I'll give an answer first, and then I think I understand what he's asking. Thank you for the super chat. I don't think it's going to happen again. And if it does happen again, it's going to be very sparingly because it became annoying to certain people. Not Zack Snyders Justice League, but like I said, release the so-and-so cut. It got old and it got tired. And, you're taking an extraordinary... I don't know if we'll ever have an extraordinary situation like this again. And like I said, people who try to compare it to all the other stuff, you had a private firm come in and other filmmakers and other producers come in and watch not Cody versus but Batgirl and said it was garbage. And it wasn't just his ass off. And they did a financial evaluation of it, of how much money they would lose because they weren't going to be able to sell that IP. So they're going to put this movie in there, which in their eyes hurt the brand. Would have hurt the brand, or even more, wherever you think the brand was at the time, they thought it would do even worse, and give 35% of the revenue to the box office, and then have to promote a movie that they didn't believe in, that they would have never greenlit if they were in there. So it's become annoying now because everybody's got their cut, and like I said, release the Batgirl cut. No, not every cut needs to be released. Just knowing what I knew about Batgirl, I don't even think the people who came into your office with that should have been reassigned somewhere else in the building. And I think that, when it comes to, we had Keaton. I wanted to see Keaton at Batman. Listen, you can do the math. Whether you like Keaton in the Flash or not, that didn't move the needle as much as they thought it was going to move. And then a lot of people said, everybody and their mother, I'm going to go see because of Keaton. And then look what it drew. So, I thought it was a horrible decision to even greenlight that movie, but because we had the Snyder cut, it took the lid off. I'm gonna fucking kill this fly, whatever the hell it is. Hold on, you did. Because that one thing happened. Now we get all these other releases. Schumacher. I don't need to see the Schumacher cut. I don't. I saw Batman Forever. I enjoyed the shit out of that movie. I don't need to see any other movie. See, your curiosity is not a validation or a key to see something. If you're running a business, these things have to make sense. They have to make sense, and they can't hurt you, and they can't be costing you money. You can't be losing money on this just because some fanboy behind the computer is curious. That's not the way, and that's what. So no, I don't think it will be. I don't think this, Zack Snyder's Justice. If anything, unfortunately, it actually hurts chances of things like that going out. What do you think, Brett?
You think, will this ever happen again?
No, he's asking. Yeah, I think. Yeah, will it ever happen again?
As far as like an alternate cut, I mean, like the biggest one I think everybody's kind of still gunning for, no pun intended, is I'm still echoing here.
Is that you or me? Because I'm on echo. I don't have echo in my.
Oh, I'm hearing myself. Okay, now I'm not here. Okay. I mean, obviously the big one everyone's still kind of gunning for is, no pun intended, is the Ayer cut, which that kind of a lot. I said myself, and I think a lot of people share the perspective that kind of falls under the restore, complete, finish, resolve the Snyderverse kind of package. But again, that's also kind of a unique situation. And I can see where William's coming from when he says it's like this made such an impact where it's like it became a meme in a way where it's like now, it became a meme, but also kind of a punchline where it's like it's not every you can't if you plug in like release this cut or release that, or it's like it's not always meant to be taken seriously, the way it's being used now. And it's like that is kind of like detrimental to the idea of anything comparable to this ever happening again. Now, when we talk about like resolving the story, that's kind of an apples and oranges thing where it's like now it's not releasing a cut we haven't seen, it's finishing what was intended for that stuff that hasn't been made yet. Yeah, William, I still part ways with William on the Schumacher cut. I do want to see that, but yeah, there is also something to be said definitely for the fact that this was an extremely unique situation as far as like how much the movie was, I use the word hijacked behind the scenes and just butchered, and then you add in how ugly things got behind the scenes. I mean, this was in so many ways was rectifying an injustice, which is, I mean, again, talk about things that are kind of retroactively sort of meta with the release of this movie. Again, it's the Justice League, and it's the release of this rectified an injustice. So,
well, I think I get what you're saying for pun reasons, but injustice, because we're not they're not obligated to do shit for us. To be honest with you, there's no fair in any of this. Hollywood isn't fair. Hollywood it's about what can make you money. And if there wasn't, if PR and AT&T didn't think there was a way to capitalize it, we wouldn't have got it. Whether how bad they screwed Zack Snyder or how bad they screwed us, they don't. Those things really don't matter. And you know what? They can't matter because it's not an emotional business in that respect. Because you'll get caught up and you'll cost yourself a lot of money, like the Schumacher cut. You lose your ass in that. There's not it's not an accident why some of these things don't happen, because wanting something and it being needed or necessary are two different things. Because, like I said, now start stacking up the dollars of how much it's going to cost to make this thing worth it. It's not. There's no monetary reason to ever release a Schumacher cut. There's no business reason right now. We discuss this all the time to do the Ayer cut. Emotions can you'll get your phone turned off and you evicted from your house. There has to be a bit for the Snyder cut. Once again, there was a unique business reason behind our desire that met up. With these other things, there's no business reason to do them, which makes these things, the hashtags in the so-and-so cuts, it kind of like hurts when something legit that has been overlooked or their mistakes have been made or bad management, and you do have a financial reason and you do have a business reason to do it. These other things kind of cloud that up because it's become white noise. Not everything needs a cut. Most things don't need another cut other than the one you saw. You could probably count them on your hand. To me, I can count them on 3 fingers. And 2 of those I could do without, because to be honest with you, the Blade Runner, the one that I saw in the theaters was fine for me for the majority of my life. Now you've added some things in there, but you added things that I already took for granted to begin with. Because even without the unicorn, there was there was you suspected that Deckard could be a replicant, but once he put that in there, that's fine. But that didn't transform the movie. That didn't transform Blade Runner. It's still basically the same movie, just with some of the things that they cut out. But Alan Ladd and the producers were skilled in their positions, and they cut things out that would have drugged the movie. It already bombed to begin with, but it would have really been, hard. But yeah, it's different when I don't think you're going to see this again. And ironically, it's a sad thing to say, it's because of the Snyder Cut that producers and film studios are just not going to want to pick up that baggage. It's kind of become a pain in the ass, unfortunately. I mean, we got the best thing we were going to get out of it, but it unlocked a bunch of dumb shit that I just don't think is A, should happen, and B, it's too much now. So yeah, I'm Chappie, I say no. Thanks for the super chat though. All right, let me answer.
Chappie, just to get out in front of this, we are not doing a watch party of Cat in the Hat again, okay? Because you asked about that last night. We're not doing it.
All right, which one of these do you want me to answer? And you, Anthony, you wrote an entire verse in the Bible in some of these questions. Tell you what, Anthony, do me a favor. Consolidate this book down to a couple of sentences, and so I can answer it, because this is just too much for me to do while we're rolling with a live chat, man.
Aaron says, "Yeah, I'm one of those individuals of bot fans, but yeah, he didn't handle that well."
What's up?
Zachary Lee, because I'm sure you've seen that video where he's like at a convention, like he fielded a question from somebody, and he answered it. Yeah, and this is, by the way, after the big Twitter campaign on the 2nd-year anniversary that really kind of was seen as the turning point that that got this at least got them to start talking to Zach about whether or not to do this. And yeah, Zachary Levi kind of has a bit of a habit of putting his foot in his mouth on a lot of things anyway, unfortunately.
Yeah. And see, I'm one of those people. I'm not only was Zach Levi though, but I didn't think the Twitter thing personally was what pushed it. I think it was a lot of the analytics of what Keelar had at his disposal, even before the Twitter campaign, and then the chatter before that event. Because before that event, AT&T and Keelar were thinking about doing it. Because if it gets to them on that level, those guys ain't hanging on Twitter. If it gets to them at that level, the AT&T level, and the Warner Brothers, he was the CEO at that time. I think he was on his way to doing it. Before that.
They were launching, because they were launching HBO Max at the time. So,
yeah, that was the main thing. The Twitter thing, I know a lot of people use that as an anniversary. I don't think that was as big a deal as a lot of people think it was. Because like I said, when you're Keelar and when you're, I forgot what the guy's name that was above him, you tune us out at a certain level. There's a certain point to where you tune us out in order to be able to do your job. And Twitter is part of that. Most of those guys aren't even on Twitter. I mean, look at Jason Keelar was rarely doing things on Twitter. And I don't think I think he had the data, because remember, they had data analytics from all the movies that were leading up to that. And as up to, what people were buying and selling, and then what was being watched on the channels and when they were reruns. So they had those data analytics. But Zachary Levi, I think Zachary Levi was one of these guys that thought, that era of DC is gone. Why isn't anybody paying attention to my era? My movies come out. Why are we still talking about this movie?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then unfortunately, it's because you're Shazam and Superman missing is a bigger story than Shazam appearing. Well, and this is coming from a guy who liked Shazam.
Wearing a Shazam shirt right now.
Yeah, I love the first Shazam movie. Is one of my favorite comic book movies. I love the second one. I didn't think it should have been made. And to be honest with you, in retrospect, as much as I love the first Shazam movie, wrong guy with a cape and an emblem on his chest. If you're trying to get things going, so yeah, Zachary Levi. I thought a lot of those guys in the management thought that everybody should be paying attention to their Blue Beetles and their Harley Quinns and stuff, because this was the DC that was happening now. And that just doesn't work that way with the consumer. And unfortunately, Zachary Levi was one of those people.
And I got no beef with the dude, but it's
hey, he's got a kid coming. Our kid is here, and I hope he gets whatever. I hope he gets everything fixed with him. Other than him being in Shazam, I never even paid attention to him. So
yeah, but like I said, it's like he's He could use a PR coach though.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that could.
That is true, yeah.
Yes, Daredevil Born Again it's been a breath of fresh air. I mean, I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I think it's a massive upgrade in every way, and we were talking about that last night. There are certain, technical upgrade, and I think quality upgrade, because, like I said, as much as I love the original series, it's a flawed series. It's a flawed series, and there's if you went and analyze the fun out of things, which a lot of people do, and I've decided I didn't want to do that at the time, I could tear that show apart. I just decided not to. It was good enough for me to like it without being hyper analytical about it. But as you look back and in retrospect and think about it in retrospect, there are certain things, like obviously there were things at the time I thought were bad, like Elektra's entire arc was bad. Karen Page in name only was not, the best it could be. It was good, but it wasn't the best it could be given who she is and her circumstances are. But then a lot of what goes on for me with wanting Born Again to be better is because, like I said, you like the single shot fight scenes. I'm like, that's a waste of Daredevil at this point. It was fine. It was fine for establishing him, when he's fighting, but as he starts fighting bigger enemies that have more capabilities, I need you to use more cameras, man. I need you to use more. Use this money you got. Use this money you got, and I need you to give a full, huh?
They got more money now, definitely.
Yeah, they definitely got more money. And I understood why they did what they did. And like I said, I didn't have a problem with that, but I don't want to go back to that. You know what I mean? Back in 2015, we were living in a different world from, the first years that Daredevil was on the air. We might as well have been living on a different planet. Storytelling is different.
Well, like I said, like when they had announced all the characters they were doing on Marvel Netflix, I admit I went in, and Daredevil was the first one, that came about, and I remember going in thinking, with a little bit of trepidation, because I thought, because they're putting these characters on Netflix, that means that they're kind of seen as like a second tier. They're not really prioritizing Daredevil or the other Netflix heroes, like they were Iron Man or Captain America or what have you. And then seeing the first season, I thought, it's like they were definitely going for a street level vibe with it, but it didn't feel like it had been shortchanged to me. It felt like this was the context and the apparatus and the foundation that these level characters need. And then when we see Daredevil return on Disney Plus, as I said during a couple of watch reviews on, it's very much, it's not it. They clearly have more money to work with on Born Again, but that's not like a criticism of the original show. If anything, I think it's a compliment of it, because it's an indication to me they're looking at this as we're building on the shoulders of Daredevil's seasons 1 through 3 as it came before. We feel this character made such an impact already. It's like, it's like when you have a movie come out, it's a big hit, and the budget was $100 million. Next one will give you $200 million, and that's really what that's really the way Born Again is playing out for me. Is that they are so satisfied with what Daredevil has done, with the impact he's made both in his show and the cameos and such he's made so far. With his return in Born Again, they're saying, okay, we need to pay him the compliments, or we need to prioritize, in the way of giving more money, more resources for the show.
Yeah, and don't assume that just because it worked for 3 seasons in Netflix, that is going to work in 2025 on Disney Plus. That's the one thing I hope that so far so good. We're not in Netflix anymore. So and as long as they recognize that we're in a different place right now and treat this character as if we're in a different place, then I think we're going to continue to excel. Azteca William doesn't speak for everyone. I never said I did. He wants Olin to select cuts of his favorite directors. Why can't others? I don't have to. Here's the thing, though. It doesn't matter what cuts I want or the cuts you want. We don't matter in that respect, because we ain't paying for shit. I could want a director's cut of the whole series of Mindhunters. I can want that until I'm 99. Doesn't mean shit. I ain't paying for it. So we can want all these cuts. But if there's no business reason for it, if the company's either not going to make money on it or they're going to lose money on it, then you can want until you drop dead and turn into dust. A fan wanting something, if there's not the volume of fans to want something to make that happen, then so what? Right? There's a lot of people that want the air cut, but there's nowhere near enough for them to make a move on it because there's no business reason for them to do it. The Schumacher cut. Oh, wow. Okay, great. 12 people that you've run across in your lifetime that want it. Wonderful. Any of them going to pay for it? No. So you want somebody to dig up a 30 some odd year old movie that was already successful and spend one dime doing anything with it when there's nothing going to be made off of it? And it doesn't matter whether I want the Schumacher cut or not. It doesn't mean anything. There are cuts that, that I would like to maybe, but I know, no, I don't. Because I know 99.9% of the time, the cut that reaches the screen is the one that needs to get there. We can't use these microscopic examples as an indicator that there's a conspiracy and a foil hat, theory behind every single thing that you may not have liked the version of it. And guess what? If that director, if an editor or producer cut that from the movie, guess what? That job of that editor and that producer, they do this. This is what they do. This is what they do. Just like that director directs, those editors edit, and those producers produce. So if everybody does their job like they generally do, you get the movie on the screen that you were supposed to get. Danny Villeneuve is a perfect example. He even tells you there's no cuts in my movies. So yeah, not everything needs to see a lot of it just because a handful of people want it. Because, like I said, logistically, it's just not possible, whether I want it or not. And answer to about all the Blade Runner cuts, you know what? If they were out there, I never requested one cut of Blade Runner other than the one I saw in 1982. All right, that was Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott petitioned for those. After being told no for 10 years. Then we started to reach anniversaries, which is when you're going to get a lot of these things. And that's what started happening. You started, 1992, 10-year anniversary, here comes a cut. 25th anniversary, here's coming a cut. And then by this time, you had all these other cuts that he had, and then you could make money off of it. Those cuts for Blade Runner only came out because they determined that as a combined entity that they can make money off of it. Like goofballs like me buying a fucking $75 suitcase with a Voight comp test in it with 7 editions of Blade Runner that I didn't need, and I only end up watching the international cut. But they made that determination. So there's got to be a business reason for these things to happen. And if you're wondering, well, where's my cut of this movie? And it hasn't happened, think about that. Think about that. There's a cause. These people are greedy. They can exploit something. They're going to. If there's money to be made on it, they're going to. Even with the Snyder cut, you had the egos fighting it, but you had somebody in the room decided there was money to be made on this, and it happened. So that's going to be the determining factor. But yeah, the Blade Runner cuts, yeah, there's 7 cuts. I was okay my entire adult life, legit, my entire adult life. I was okay with the one that I saw as an 8-year-old. All right, and I carried that one with me forever. Were the other cuts cool? Yeah, but I didn't need them. If I had never gotten any of those cuts, that one I saw in the theater was a definitive cut for me, and I was fine with that. And when I saw these other cuts, if you watch the other cuts of Blade Runner, the things that he's added to them, be honest with you, it's an opinion on Ridley Scott. But Ridley Scott wasn't paying for the movie. All right, Alan Ladd and all the other people who still own the brand, they were paying for that movie. They lost their ass on that movie, by the way. So yeah. Like I said, I was okay with the original Blade Runner cut. Did I enjoy the other ones? Yeah, they're kind of cool. Like I said, sewing up that end. So everybody who says Decker's not a replicant, you're wrong. That sews that up. But I went forever without any of those cuts. I think the whole cut thing is overrated, to be honest with you, especially with modern filmmaking now. And some of these directors are getting more powerful. Nolan, you're going to cut shit out of his movie that he wants there? That's not happening. He'll walk. Denny makes the movie. They don't mess with his movies because he makes movies that don't need to be cut. Most of these modern day filmmakers are making things. You got the handful of conspiracies, you got the air cut, and you got the Snyder cut. But the Schumacher cut, dude, the people who did the cutting on that movie released a very successful movie. That was what they were supposed to do. That was the cut that was supposed to get the screen. The movie that got to the screen was the one that made a lot of money and sold a lot of McDonald's toys and shit. So you got to look at it from that point of view too. It's, everybody did their job. The director did his thing, handed his movie in, and the people whose asses are on the line for these movies did their thing, and that's why you had what you got. I mean, we don't need a cut for everything. And that's what I say. The Snyder Cut opened up a Pandora's box of, and it, like I said, to these executives, even if you're going to have a day where there's a legitimate cut that probably should be released, one of the 1 in 1,000 that needs to see the light of day. But we've badgered these people with every cut, this cut, that cut, release this and that you become, they don't even hear you anymore. It's like when you when you hear, you hear the horn honking every day, the dog barking every day, the birds, the pigeons, everybody doing the same shit that they do every day. You tune it out, and when you just drop an avalanche of cuts that people just stop listening to you. The message is no longer special anymore. So that's how I feel about that. Let's see. Smiling friend. What up? I just watched it. All right, congratulations. I don't know what that is, Joga, so I don't want to pretend to. Okay, now we've reached a hold on. We've reached a part of the show where we're just going to get trolled now. And you're muted, bud. All right.
Yeah, I have been kind of making the joke though. It is kind of interesting with there's this weird tradition with Ben Affleck superhero movies where it's like there's always a better director's cut.
To be quite honest with you, and if you guys ever get a Daredevil cut, a director's cut, if it's out there, you enjoy it.
No, I mean the Ayer cut. That's like we already have the director's cut of Daredevil. Director's cut of Daredevil, BVS Ultimate Edition, Zack Snyders Justice League, and then Ayer cut of Suicide Squad.
And see, I'm in the minority when it comes to Snyder fans. I saw BVS in the movie day one. In fact, we promoted to BVS, and I had no problem with the cut I got in that movie. But I can't unsee what that 30 minutes adds. No. Yeah, once you see that, and then the big context of the DCEU, yeah. People like to use that as if people would release that cut, it would have made. No, it wouldn't have. BVS made the money it was going to make, and it was a lot of money. I can't believe 800. Wow. Anyway, I'm not going to get my blood pressure because the math in that was like ridiculous. I lost my voice. I'm like, we're talking about losing with 873 million. Fucking Batman Begins almost didn't even break 425. So 10 years later, you see where we're at with movies. We were so spoiled that I don't know. All right, so they need okay, Chappie, come on, man.
Seriously, no, they do. Oh no, yeah. And for those of you, there is it's called Lost Soul. It's about the making of the 1996 Island of Dr. Moreau movie, which I do recommend watching that because that movie's not good, but that documentary is fascinating about like if you were at all intrigued by like kind of like train wreck productions or like movies that bomb and just kind of become infamous. It's like this is a really fascinating documentary to watch.
Real quick, Brad, I need you to go into your settings.
Okay.
Your mic settings, real quick.
All right.
And there's a setting down. What do your settings say when you open it up on what mic setting on StreamYard?
Default microphone to this. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm clicked. I got the little check mark by echo cancellation.
Do you have the right? Are you on the right microphone? Because you're echoing bad, and there's nothing. I can try to on my end. It has to be on yours.
No,
what device is
it says default microphone to USB audio device. That should be the main one I've always used.
Okay. Wow, we've had a bad sound.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to get the adapter for this. So.
Okay, so because I'm getting messages that you're echoing bad, and I don't know if it's through me or it should be through me because we've done this before. We do this all the time. This is like I know this show. So okay, go. We'll figure it out. All right. let's see. They seriously need to do it. I don't know. No, okay, no, I don't want. I'll be honest with you. I never want to see the behind the scenes of Justice League. I never want to see that. I don't think there's any good that can do but open up old wounds that people are just, we've taken years to get past. Top 5 directors cuts to movies that I would love to see. Crow City of Angels. Okay.
You want to direct cut a Monkey Bone? Or just the title alone, man.
Monkey Bone 2, 2011 prequel, Carrie remake. Like I said, I don't see any business reason for any of those ever being made. Like I said, listen, I can have a desired list. Generally, for the most part, as somebody who's I've watched enough director's cuts to be like, okay. Unless it's, like I said, with Zack Snyders Justice League, it was transformative to the movie. And from what I hear with David Ayer, unfortunately, that one is transformative to the movie. But at the same time, I would never greenlight it unless we were going to finish, because you're only adding things in that make sense with the totality of the story, right? I mean, because especially after Zack Snyders Justice League and we see the, Truce Bruce Joker, I would eat up that story. If we were gonna get a resolution to it, give me my 2 hours, then you justify the money at the same stroke of the pen of David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Even if you're just gonna give me the scenes that are relevant to the overall story. Other than that, I can't expect somebody to dole out money for a road to nowhere like that, just out of curiosity, and because I there's a lot of shit I want to see. I want to see another season of Raised by Wolves. I ain't getting it. I want to see Mindhunter season 3. I ain't getting it. Sarah Connor Chronicles, Terminator. I want to see another season of that. I ain't getting it. There's a lot of shit I want.
This kind of goes just in my genre here. Anybody here seen a Triple Threat? I think like when you've seen the movie Triple Threat, when it's an ensemble, it's like kind of like Expendables with Tony Jaa, Scott Adkins, and Ego is it? Yeah, I love that movie. I love it a lot, but I know Jesse Johnson, the director, he does have a director's cut he wants to get out there. So it's like, I again, don't get me wrong. It's like I think the version we got, I really like. But I mean, if he thinks his version is better, I'd love to see it. And Jesse, Jesse, if you're watching, I've interviewed Jesse many times. Great dude, great filmmaker, coming from the stunt world. Yeah, I support you on this, man. Oh, you're still mute, man.
I'm gonna go offline and see how what issues you're having with your sound, and see if I can fix them from where I'm at.
Okay. Keep answering questions while we stepped out. One of my favorite cartoon movies. I've never been a big South Park guy. Never really got into that. It's funny too, because I remember like when the Snyder Cut was greenlit, people actually kind of used it as like a shorthand. I remember seeing a lot of people call it like Justice League, bigger, longer, and uncut. Because it's kind of what it is. All right. Yes, I have. And I did like it a lot. Sorry if I'm sniffling a lot, guys. It's like, pollen, spring coming, my body takes like, a couple days to adapt to that. So I got a little bit of a runny nose right now. All right. Oh, here's a good one.
Yeah, it's your mic, man. I'm gonna have to fly to Georgia, and I'm taking that mic, and I'm going to somewhere, and I'm getting that adapter because
Ray sent me this like a bit, and it was working fine until like within the last 2 weeks. How much do these cost me if I was getting a new headset?
I think it's your computer. Have you switched over to your new computer yet?
No, not yet. My laptop, yeah. I got a laptop for Christmas, but I've still been streaming through my PC. I need to start streaming through my laptop.
Yeah, maybe. that might cure all the problems. Because how old is your table? Your tabletop? Tabletop like it's a fucking D&D game.
This my desktop I got actually a friend sold to me. I don't know how long he had it for, but I got this about 5 years ago.
Oh my God, Brad! What the hell? Are you using torches to light the house?
No.
You realize how much driver technology has changed in just like the last 18 months?
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about technology, man. It's like,
okay,
I'm so far behind on all that.
So we're talking 5 years plus what he had it for. Yeah, your interface drivers are probably outdated. That's why when we switched it out that day,
I did about a year ago. I took it to Staples. I did like I think I might have had a virus or something. I forget what it was at the time, but the guy cleaned out and he said, yeah, within you might want to like start like backing your stuff up on an external hard drive because this I don't know how much longer your computer's got.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Like I said, man,
Okay,
I told you
this is so weird. The younger guy on the stream is living out life on a technological level of the Unabomber.
But dude, I already explained all to you is that I'm a lazy shit.
Yeah, but okay. Ugh. What can I bribe you? Look, we'll watch one of your crazy movies. We'll watch the. Tell you what, Brad. Tell you what. We switch out all this technology and come up to at least 2021, maybe. We'll watch one of your movies, and I won't complain about it. I won't buzz it.
No.
I can't believe the younger guy on the stream is like my dad is more technologically advanced than you do, and he's in his 70s. What's going on, man?
Okay, so I'm definitely gonna sleep on that choice then. I'm gonna sleep on like, okay, which one am I gonna make?
Don't you understand?
No, I'm talking about sleep on the choice of like which one I'm gonna make you watch.
Okay, so next time we see you again on this screen, it's got to be from. It's going to take you 10 minutes. It's going to take you 10 minutes, and when you do it, you're going to be kicking yourself like, "Damn!" I mean, oh my goodness, I've had laptops since we've been on the air come and go, and not and be outdated. Every time, because what you probably had is because you're using technology like we're using StreamYards and we're using mutual technology. You probably had driver updates now that no longer update anything because you got some Apple 2GS.
Yeah. I am not 63, Droga.
No, 63-year-olds are using the new shit. My mom can do emojis and shit with the phone. That I'm like, what did you learn this from? My mom and dad are the anti-Brads. I'm somewhere in the middle. You just gradually are okay with 5 years ago, and plus whatever the other guy had it. I'm like, I'm horrified.
I don't even know what kind of phone. I don't know whether it's an iPhone or like a smartphone. Or it's like I just can it dial and make calls and like can I get on the internet?
When you want to stop at a red light or at an intersection, do you stick your feet out the car to stop it like Barney Rubble? This is Brad. This is bad, man. This is. I'm having this conversation with like my aunts and shit that people who don't want to embrace technology, not a young dude.
Well, again, it's like I'm very simple. It's like doing what I do. It's like, can I type the article and turn it in and get paid for it?
Oh my god! I'm surprised you don't use a typewriter. I'm legit. I'm looking for a typewriter in the background. I'm surprised you're not okay with just using. That's why your keyboard sounds like that. That sounds like an old school typewriter with the woodpecker.
Actually, I just got a new one in here too. It's my nephew. Yeah, so this one's it should be. It's more up to date than like one I got down here right now.
Would you say it's more up to date than what you have? That shit could be. We could be talking about 2015, dude. Oh my goodness. Okay, well now I think 90% of our sound problems are coming from you. That's what it is, dude. That's trademark that.
Thank you, sis.
Okay. No. Don't you want Brad to sound good? Don't you want Brad to sound his best? You don't want to hear that. He's doing Morse code from a cave. Please send food and oil for my lamp. What the fuck is going on? All right. Please. Please fix it. Please. All right.
So again, like, if I can type it and turn it in, it's like again, I've always been very forthright. It's like I'm not a tech guy by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm just still trying to absorb all of this right now.
I also got my tablet, which I've never ever. Can you? Can you?
Yes, you can, Brad.
Tablet, okay.
I've done it. I've done it when I'm out and about, and when I've had to have you host the show. So I can do. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your tablet. Please don't ever try that because right now I'm fearing. No.
Oh, stop it!
No.
Okay, we're going back to some of these questions here. And actually, one I wanted to pull up when you stepped away for a second. The fourth dropped because this is actually.
Where the hell is he at? I haven't seen him. Is he in there?
He's in the chat. Yeah. Because this has actually definitely caused a little bit of a stir right now. Speaking of Netflix, anyone see? I have not seen it, but I have heard that. I heard it's bad.
I heard it's bad, but you know what though? Guess what else is bad? Almost everything on Netflix. Netflix and I think they have a formula because they're going to get a shitload of views on that. They're going to get everybody who watched Stranger Things is going to watch it. I think Netflix is like, we just want the volume. It doesn't have to be good because what was that other one that was really bad? The Gal Gadot that they had in there. That was
Heart of Stone, which I haven't seen. Yeah, I heard the reception that was kind of so. But I think this also is more so than like a Netflix thing. It kind of like because and I've seen a few features tend to this to this effect since this movie came out, but it also kind of speaks to the Russos. Post Endgame, it's not been they've seen some better days.
Well, you know what? That they are good directors, but the half of their success was the infrastructure that they worked in. When you're a professional and you come into a professional environment that's bigger than you tend to rise to the occasion. That's what professionals do. And when you go to somewhere where it doesn't have that infrastructure, it's hard to bring it. So, but yeah, I've heard it's I heard it's bad, but then again, like I said, I might watch it and enjoy it. I mean, hey, I'm a guy, so sometimes my standards are just having fun that day. I might give it a watch though, because I'm wondering how she's going to progress. I watched Millie Bobby Brown in a show called The Intruders, which, by the way, BBC, fuck you for canceling that show. That show was really good, and you didn't want to spend them. You became the Sci-Fi Network for like a month or so. That show, it was great. It was about these they're basically immortals, but they have a way of transferring their spirit into other bodies. And so when they die, as long as their body's prepared a certain way, they can come back every 9 years. And what was happening is these people were, infiltrating society, and she was one of them, but she was only like 7 years old. So imagine 7 or 11 as a 7-year-old. And that's where I first saw her. And she played a foul-mouthed serial killer that had gotten her mind transplanted into that body. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's when I knew that kid had something going. And then, years later, Stranger Things, by the way, I need season 5 to hurry up and get here because that will not be bad. There's no way that shows no way.
Why do you think the Russos have had kind of a rougher time, after Endgame? I mean, they're heading back to Marvel,
because they've worked for studios that are not Marvel studios and that don't have the discipline in some cases and don't have the goals. And like I said, Netflix goals is just get it out there, give somebody to watch, because 9 times out of 10, when you're watching something you want to watch on Netflix, and you leave that little autoplay going, and you're rolling into something else, and you're rolling into something else, and they got you. It doesn't have to be Scorsese. For every Scorsese thing every Irishman that they have on there, there's some knockoff grade shit that's awful that you just sit there and watch. And they've done the analytics on it. So it's different. You got a higher standard.
Well, plus also with Netflix, I mean, they and this is some of the other commentary I've seen after the Electric State came out. I mean, Netflix, literally when it comes to budgeting, it's all they say, hey, here's $100 million. Do whatever you want with it.
Sometimes they give too much money.
Oh, for this.
Sometimes they give there's some shit that they give like $300 million.
Oh, for this, yeah. Apparently they had this was basically Endgame money they had for this.
And they use that credit. But here's the thing: Netflix, that's not going to hurt them. Now, if fucking Warner Brothers was to put out some shit like that in 320 and it wasn't any good, they'd, Zaslav may put on a disguise. He may do a John Travolta face-off thing and like pose as someone else and get out of there. But Netflix pulls in so much money. They pull in so much money. They're the only. They run at a $14 billion debt because their creditors are like, at any time we know we could call that in. But that allows them to keep that out there. Eventually, they'll have to pay it off. But they pull in so much money that they can 370 million, 320 million. And there's something else. Didn't they do something with The Rock that cost way too much money? Oh, how much did Red One cost?
Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about. That was that was The Rock and Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds. That was about 200 million. Now, granted, probably 60 million of that went to the three of them, but
yeah,
but even then, it's like that's still another 140 million on top of that. So.
And you didn't advertise it and put, you did some trailers.
I actually saw that because they had a theater run for that. I actually saw that.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, in the theater like a week before it came out. That's back when I was.
That's right. You told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the ending explainer on Screen Rant for that. But that that's it's like I said, getting the three of them. I mean, they all have come with a high price tag. But even with that said, it's like, and I enjoyed the movie, but it's like where did that other $140 million go?
And Netflix didn't even ask because they were raking in so much cash. So, all right, so let's go into the anchor topic. And man, what you're about to hear from me is biased. I'll be forthcoming. I love Absolute DC. I love the Absolute DC sales. Right before I started the show, I had somebody coming in and wanting to get started because they saw one of my posts today. And they came in and they didn't realize that I had a particular issue, and it was a first printing because there's a lot of those second and third printings that are really good. But he came in, I just happened to have a first printing of Absolute Wonder Woman that I did not put out on the shelf until he sold the other one. He ended up walking out with every book but Absolute Superman #5 because I got shorted. I got screwed on that.
By the way, it's also because I was under the impression that each of with Batman, with the Trinity, it's like the introduction was going to be a 5-part story with each of them. So I was under the impression that was going to wrap it up for all of them, and then they were like start crossing over. But Batman is going to be going to #6 next week.
Yeah, well, that was their introductory arc with 5, and then now all of them are going to go to #6. Now Batman's the first one to get a one outside of its initial arc, and now we got Martian Manhunter coming up, and we got Green Lantern coming up, and then we have Flash coming up. And these are all that were planned. These are all been planned in advance. So now we're going to have their introductory arcs overlapping with, so you have the JV coming out to the varsity. I can't say enough good things about this. Every now and then you have something and it's hyped up. You get excited about it, and it's just, you just talk about it, and you're afraid to talk it to death. But then you have hold on, undo move. Damn it, I'm looking for the stats I had up. You're so easy to be disappointed when things come up. So when something finally comes out, whether it be a movie, whether it be something in music or anything like that, it's easy to be disappointed. It is this Absolute universe has not disappointed me at all. It's exceeded my expectations, and that's hard to do. I mean, I'm an old collector. I've been collecting for 40 plus years. So when you're talking about something like, I've seen it all. I've seen all the deaths. I've seen all the resurrections. I've seen all the new universes, and this is a new thing. Lord knows how many fucking reboots I've seen, including some that should have never happened. So when you're telling me, hey, you're going to give me this new universe and these all new, all different, where have we heard that before? As Scott Snyder and everybody working at DC, I don't care if you're making DC diapers, DC toys, DC comics, DC movies, Scott Snyder has shown you the way to get people excited about what you're doing. He handled this masterfully. Before we even got the first pages in our hands, he had hyped it up. He used social media perfectly to get us excited about it. And when the guy doing it is that excited about it, it's really hard not to join him. And then when we went to Comic-Con and we got our ash cans, little ash can versions of Absolute Batman that people, by the way, stop selling them things for $200, people. That's fucked up. Anyway, but we had the Absolute, the original ones on there, and we started to get the backgrounds of these characters and what's going to make them different. And this was months before they were released. And then they showed us Absolute Flash. They didn't give us any information about that. Absolute Green Lantern. They were keeping that secrets now. Now that some of that's out of the bag. And it's really hard to be let down. I don't know how many times I've been let down on all platforms. I was not let down here. As somebody who's been selling since the mid-90s, I haven't had this kind of energy with this many books for this amount of time in a long, long time. It has really, and like I said, for it to bring people back, people who think that they have outgrown Batman, that outgrown Superman. Superman's too cheesy for me. One of the bigger problems that I always said that you're always going to have a problem when you're making a mainline Superman movie, and why Batman is always going to come out of the gate with more money, is because just like the customer I sold to today, the reason why is, like I said, Superman is what we wish we were, what we aspire to be. Batman is who we are. All that hate, all that anger, all that discontent, all that wanting to choke the shit out of your boss, but you can't do it because you'll go to jail. All that wanting to kick your neighbor in the balls because he's making too much noise and his dog crapped on you. Everything that's wronged you and all the things that make you mad that you just have to live in your circle, in your civilized circle. Batman beats that guy up for you. Batman puts that guy's head into an ATM for you. Batman, cuts off that guy's arm for you. That guy that cut you off on the way to the work and flipped you off, Batman beat his ass today. That's what Batman is. Batman is the conduit for us. And even with that, Batman stories were going in different directions that collectors didn't want. And a lot of it is because, since, Rebirth and all that stuff, when it jammed up the continuity, a lot of people gave up and just never came back. After Batman bought back just about every Batman fan that I had lost. And, it did a couple of different things. It bought Batman fans back and it created new ones. Absolute Batman #1. The Zoo Part 1. Let me use the versions I have up here of it. What do we want to do? Let's look at this one. Also, the variant cover game, it's been around for a while. I live and die by variant covers. But what they did with these covers, with the absolute universes, with the black and white, the Noir, Wonder Woman, Superman, black and white editions of these characters and these comic books, Virgin Chromium covers. This, not only monetarily did they do themselves a lot of favors doing it this way, but it gave somebody, a lot of the value in comic books, unless you're willing to go for some high-end books, there's some of it's, it's just not out there. You're going to be constantly looking for things to you never know what you're going to get your hands on that might pop up and be a collector. But when they're doing these reprints and when they're doing these variants, when they're decreasing the run, that automatically makes some of this stuff really valuable. So on a structure level, the story is great to begin with, but on a business level, this is one of the ones I sold out immediately when it first came around, the Jim Lee version, and it allows, not only are you introducing a brand new character into our brand new version of the character, you're giving a whole bunch of different looks to it, and that really appealed to people. So yeah, the variant covers and having that many variants for and different versions for each one that you did, that brought back the collectorship to it. That made it a lot of fun. Having people come in if they missed out, and here's the thing that it did help. So if somebody had their comic book store down the street and they missed out on a variant, some of them were ratioed, they sold out. They got to their store too late. Guess what? Little mom and pop crumb guy like me, I happen to have one because maybe I got my shipment later. I got a different proportion. Now that guy comes walking to my door and we have a conversation. Yeah, I'm not going to steal him from the other store. He's always going to go back, but I get to at least I have a chance of meeting him and making some chatter off him that way. So the circulation of comic book fans that have accompanied this storyline has been something that I haven't seen in a long time. We're talking about characters that are coming up on their 90th years in existence, and it's really hard. We discuss ad nauseum how hard it is to make these characters new again. I mean, how many times are you going to do Batman to where it's the same old thing? They took dramatic licenses as this one. So we'll start with Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, Batman, comparing the traditional Batman, Crime Alley, Martha Kent, not Kent, I'm sorry, different Martha. Why did you say her name? Martha Wayne, Thomas Wayne, gunned down. That's been the story that we've known our entire lives as it relates to Batman. Even different versions of Batman. Obviously, I had the Flashpoint one, but by that time, Batman had already been around, 70 some odd years. So The one that's ingrained in the general public's mind is Bruce Wayne, millionaire, billionaire, inherited this company, Gotham, Gotham's his city, he's the protector, the same basic stuff that no matter who took over Batman, even the great Frank Miller, who did Dark Knight, the basic bones of the Batman is still there. Martha and Thomas were still killed. The things that drive him still drive him. He's just a futuristic version. In almost every iteration of Batman, it's the same basic thing. Nobody wanted to mess with that. They figured it was working. Here comes Scott Snyder. So not only are we not talking about billionaires, Thomas Wayne's a school teacher. Thomas Wayne's a school teacher. And the way Thomas Wayne dies, in contrast to the way Bruce is, I can't talk tonight. I think I'm bratted tonight. The way in which that happens defines this version of Batman, yet still keeps him the same. And I'll explain that. For those of you who haven't read Absolute Batman #1, man, when the trade paperbacks come out, I still got some stuff here that you can get pretty thrifty. But wherever you're at in the world, when these trade paperbacks come out here next month, please get them. Please get them. You're going to open your mind up to an entirely new way of looking at these characters. So we open up with the Zoo, which is Batman's 5-story arc. The origin story of what happens to him as a kid. Spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil it for you. He wins a school project. And because he wins it, they get to go to the zoo. He does a project on bats. That's what his subject is. And bats are the way they use bats in this, as a frame of mind is absolutely stunning. And it's
with his suit too.
His suit and his frame of mind of the bat being the thing that led him to and he always blames himself because of what ends up happening. He goes to the zoo and Joe Chill this time is a mass shooter, and there's a mass shooting, and Thomas Wayne takes the kids, puts them in, I think it's a closet or some type of cave or off. He's within the bat area, which is another thing that leads to it. He closes the door and he shields those kids. He says, "Whatever you do, don't come out of here." And he takes the bullets for those kids. Now, I can't listen. I've never been mugged. Let's knock on wood. You mug me tonight, I might rob you. But anyway, I've never been mugged. I've never been held. I've never had any of those things that happened to Thomas and Martha. I never had that happen to me. That's just something I took for granted that's what happened to him and understood. I've never been in the school shooting. We didn't have that shit when I was in school. But each and every one of us that has a piece of technology in front of them at any point in the last since 1999 has witnessed the school shootings, has witnessed this stuff, has felt those people's pain from wherever you are in the world. You see it. You start to remember these faces. Name Columbine is a mark in time for people because of its spectacular. Taylor Martin, all these school shootings that have become commonplace. So right then and there, they take something that was abstract that happened decades and decades ago that you take for granted, and they line it up with something that all of us have seen. So you're feeling what those kids are going through. Some of these people reading this have been in an environment where there's been a shooting in their vicinity. So instead of giving us something that we're just supposed to take for granted, they give us something that you can feel, that you can relate to. And how he dies and how that inspires Bruce. Now, Martha does not die. She, gets up, grows old, and that his mother plays a part in his life, and it plays a part in his persona and how he does things. He's also not rich in this universe, but he's no less a genius. Where he lacks money and things like that, he's very clever. He outsmarts Alfred, who is like an MI6 type of agent who's coming back to Gotham to for his own reasons, and he observes Batman. He's outsmarting this secret agent guy and setting him up as traps. The gadgets he has, you see the spirit of what as the Batmobile, but it's a big tank thing. And by the way, that tank thing that he's driving around, that excavator thing, one of the issues I think we showed it turns into a compact Batmobile, which is cool. I need to see that in a movie. I need to see Batman, this 6'6" Batman, by the way. For some reason, he's huge. And I need to see him driving through with this big earth mover thing that he uses as a Batmobile, and he pushes a button and it changes into a compact Bat. That's kick-ass. He doesn't have a back.
But I mean, it's like an entire construction site that it starts from.
Yeah, and he pushes a button.
I mean,
and it becomes something else.
I mean, it makes the bat tank from Dark Knight Returns look like a Volkswagen. I mean, this is how massive this thing is.
And then, like I said, what it turns into is not small either, but it's smaller than so he can drive through the city in it. He doesn't have a bat cave. He has an abandoned construction site because he's a construction worker. He meets with these people all the time, and when you see him sitting with his friends, Edward Nygma, and all the other familiars that you're gonna know about, because they were all at the zoo, and they were all affected by that one event. And it shows you the psychology of it, that these events have effects on these people in different ways, and they alter the courses of their lives. And he knows these people are up to no good because he's old enough now, and they're doing crimes now. But he focuses on whatever he's trying to with the mission at hand, and he uses these people. He gets them to talk. They're playing cards. He's playing cards with all these crazy people, and he's just getting information out of them. And it's hilarious. The Joker in this universe is the exact opposite of what he's not. Not crazy. He's an assassin, and he's the one with the money. So we haven't gotten deep into that person because he's the backstory. He's who they all end up working for. But how this has been handled, the contrast between our Bruce Wayne, I'm going to claim him as my Bruce Wayne, but the mainline Bruce Wayne and what happens here. But the thing about it, and Scott Snyder said at Comic-Con, what he wanted to do, he wanted to make dramatic changes, but still keep them the same. The circumstances have changed, but Bruce Wayne is still a heroic person that cares about the city. And he has a different regard for this city, whereas rich Batman and technologically savvy Batman, Playboy Bruce Wayne, they approach it in a different way. He's not about the flash. This absolute Batman is not about the glory and anything else. He does things out of necessity, and it's cool, but it's still Bruce Wayne. It's still what Bruce Wayne would do, and that's what I love about it. We've taken this dramatic take and the look about it. Here's where being bold. DC follow. I almost said Zack Snyder. Follow Scott Snyder. This is what being bold and sticking with your original concept gets you. When they first put out this concept of Batman, and people saw that oh man, this shit splattered on the fan. What's that? It looks like a toaster on his chest. What's that? That is square. Is that supposed to be a bat? And then all the memes, people were making fun of it. Didn't matter. Scott Snyder knew he had something. He stuck with it. DC stuck with him. Look where we're at right now. Because the look of this Batman is unlike anything I've ever seen. He literally uses the aspects of the bat. The way the bat wings, those protrusions, he walks on those to intimidate people. He can grab people with those. His ears, no kill, become daggers that he throws at people and hits in places where they should kill him. That fucking bat on his chest, that's an axe that he uses to dismember someone who, yes, I know that now that person lived and came back, which is, come on, man, you're not living through that, but that's fine. That's fine. But he's got, gadgets about him that are in the spirit of the historical Batman stuff, but in a different way. And the imagination to be able to do that was really tough. And you had to have the backing of the company, and the kudos, they did it.
That's what I loved about that panel in the first issue when he chops off the dude's arm and he says, "Hey, the hospital's like 3 blocks that way or that way. I can't remember, but you might want to head there quick."
I guess he made it because he's in another fight scene, and I'm like, dude, why would you come back to fight a guy who took your arm off?
but yeah, see, that's how they address or compartmentalize or contextualize the no-kill rule. Like early on in Absolute Batman, his attitude is like, it's like, I will beat you up until the point of like severing limbs. But I'll point you in the direction of the hospital, but that's about as much mercy as you're getting from me. He
had acid. He uses acid on him. I'm like, okay, I'm sure that's not good for their health.
And if he bleeds out before he gets there, well, sucks to be that guy.
All right, Absolute Wonder Woman. This is one I'm still trying to wrap my head around. The art on this. Let me bring up one of the when I say the variant covers that are like the really nice ones that are jumping in value right now. I got one that's my favorite that I really should have had ready, but if anything, Absolute Wonder Woman, what it's done for the color red for me is just beautiful. And I never would have thought in all my years that, two-tone coloring would work. This works. This is her sitting on her steed, her little Pegasus. It's just basically bones, and she's on rocks. That one color, it's actually just two colors. It's silver, red, her flesh, and but it's predominantly red. Usually, you don't do something like that because it drowns out the effects of the detail. This works, and that's what I mean. They're doing things that you just don't. You're not seeing done in comics because there's usually rules against it, and it usually affects yourself. This is the A cover. This is the one. This is by the way, this is by Kelly Thompson, Hayden Sherman, and Jordy Belair. They did the A cover. The A cover alone is great. And once again, blood red is predominant, not just in these covers, but in the comic book itself. The comic book itself is violent as all hell. The difference between this Wonder Woman and her story arc is called The Last Amazon, and something has happened to the rest of the Amazon, and she's banned from coming back from Themyscira, and she's given to Cersei, who lives in hell. Cersei trains her. She uses a lot of magic in here that they do not necessarily use. I mean, Wonder Woman has magic about her, but there are other aspects of her that she uses. She's got tattoos. She's only got one arm. So if you look closely on all of them, and if you read these titles, she only has one arm. And the reason why she only has one arm is because Steve Trevor somehow, some way, finds himself in hell. That part of the aspect of her falling in love with him and going gaga, that remained the same, which is great. She needs to get him back to Earth, and there's some black magic she needs to do in order to do that, and it requires the arm of a warrior, the fighting arm of a warrior. So she gives up her arm to get him back. There's this one out of the three is the most monster one. If you're into kaiju and all that kind of stuff and big monster, this is your book. There's all manner of giant monster in this one, and she goes after them. The lasso of truth is different. It's used different. She walks around with a sword that's bigger than her, and she uses it effectively to dismember people, and things, mostly things in this episode. The best part about the first 5-story arc is this, and once again, they do the same thing as they do in Absolute Batman. There are certain virtues about Diana Prince that are going to stay the same no matter what universe she's in, and they're the same things here. What she does for Steve Trevor is the same thing that Diana would in our universe would do. Her fighting style, though, is different because it's based on magic, a lot more magic than she's ever been, because she's been taught by Cersei. Her views on humankind and mankind are different because of where she's grown up. She didn't grow up on Themyscira. She grew up in hell. She literally grows up and lives in hell. She still comes back and forth to hell. So the art on the Absolute Wonder Woman covers and inside, I think out of the three are my favorite ones. All right. Absolute Superman. This one is probably the most dramatic in regards to the parallels and the parallels of all of them, right? So all these other ones have similar parallels. There have been some changes, atmospheres, setting, they don't change Bruce to the point where he's that drastically different from the core values of Bruce. Same thing with Diana. Supermans are drastically different because of one particular thing. He is not an orphan when you first see him. When you see him in Absolute Superman #1, it's not Mom and Pa Kent. It's Jor-El and Lara. They're raising him. He's not Superboy. He's growing up with them. He's working with them. He's going to school. He is Kyle and meets his parents. That alone, regardless to the other changes I'm about to let you know, with that alone is a massive difference because of the entire psyche of what he is being an orphan that was raised by, Midwest values in Kansas and all that. Smallville does play a factor, and we'll find that out later on. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to finish episode issue 5 because it sold out, and then they're gonna cover a lot more of that because he does go to Smallville. His planet, by the time you meet Superman in here, he's a little bit jaded. He's not the if you're looking for a hopeful Clark Kent, Scott Snyder said fuck you. No, nope,
true.
Not yet. If you're looking for a cheery Boy Scout guy and hopeful and all that stuff, that ain't happening in this one, because what happens is Krypton, and it's called the Last Krypton, or the Last Krypton. I think the Last Kryptonian is what this one's called. I have to open it up, but the Kryptonians are pieces of shit. They are not only are they destroying the planet, but they have this caste system. That S is not what we think it is in our universe. It's the lower. Yeah, it's the workers. It's the lower class, but his parents are proud of their hard work. So they wear that symbol proudly. So he wears it proudly. So right there, you got a different motive behind the S, but you still have the S. His parents work for these, the miners and all that, but he brings up the fact that, hey, these green Kryptonian blasts are coming along. Kryptonite blasts are happening in our planet. Something's wrong with our planet. The miners don't care. They don't want the planet panicking, and that's their main source of income, and that's how they maintain their power. So they actually will imprison you if you try to bring stuff up. He tries to bring this up to the council, and they shut him down. And so he starts creating these devices and suits to get as many Kryptonians out, and that carries over through the story. Kal, though, is in school, and he uses one of his school reports to publish the dangers of the planet, and that gets everybody in trouble. I mean, they come after him. They actually try to kill him because he's found a way to make this public. Everybody's panicking and everybody's looking to roast the hierarchy there. None of these people are caring that the fact that he's right. So that's a parallel to where, in some stories, reimagining or not, Jor-El is the guy that says, "Oh, my planet's about to blow up. You guys don't want to listen to me? Let me take my kid." This time, they try to get as many Kryptonians out. Now, I did read that in issue 5. There's these suits that will become a suit. They are the ways that Kryptonians get out. A lot of them still die, but more of them got out than in our classic. The biggest difference, besides the fact that he meets his parents and gets his values that he has when you first see him in Absolute Superman #1, or theirs, is the fact that when you see him as a grown man, he has that. He's taken that with him. He's taken that. Here I am on Earth, and these guys are doing the same thing of the planet, and he is more of a champion of the people that will be crushed by that. Instead of being an idealist like he is in art in the normal world, he has a cause here. I don't know if they're trying to be an environmental cause, but hey, doesn't matter. It's not woke, because guess what? Krypton exploded because of overmining. It's happened. So if they're woke now, they were woke in 1938. So there you go. His suit works differently as a containment device. His powers are a little bit different because of the way he came to Earth. But in some iterations, remember, in John Burns, he was born in his spaceship. This, he actually makes it to Earth. He is a fully functional man. And now you have the Lazarus Project, who is basically trying to do the same type of thing that the aliens on his world were doing. And you see Peacemakers in there, by the way.
And who else is part of it? Who else is part of Project Lazarus?
Peacemaker?
No, is it somebody else? Another important Superman character?
Lois Lane?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought I'm sorry. Yeah. That's another big thing. Lois Lane is working for Project Lazarus. But you still see her reporter instincts in there, because she smells something, and she's trying to track Superman. And while she's tracking Superman, she realizes she's working for a corrupt company. By the way, Christopher, Peacemaker's in there, but there's a whole bunch of them in there, but he stands out. Sam is in there. He's lost both of his legs, and he has these little mobile legs that he used. a lot of the Jimmy Olsen is part of Lazarus as well. Jimmy Olsen is in there, so a lot of the familiar characters are in there. But the biggest drastic difference is because of the origin of his upbringing. Instead of Ma and Pa Kent, it's his actual parents that instill his beginning values of him. Now they still haven't revealed, or at least I haven't got to it, the point where, because then there's a picture in because Ma Kent is on a respirator, but there's a picture with an older kid. So I don't know what part he plays yet. I have to finish reading 5 when I get it back in the store, or I'll have to read The Fortress of Solitude and cheat like that. Oh, by the way, I can't remember his name, but he puts his name up there. There's a guy, Fortress of Solitude. I got to get his name to give him credit. He does excellent breakdowns of these issues. He keeps giving them all 10 out of 10 because he's absolutely in love with them. But
yeah, I need to look at that again, like who's doing on that on Fortress.
Yeah, and he puts his name up there, but I'll bring it up next time. But he does excellent ones, and
you asked me about that because I'm part of Fortress Solitude. So
yeah, he does excellent.
Ask like he's doing it. Yeah,
so I'm going to cheat a little bit and go there, but like I said, it's leading towards right now. What they're doing is they're establishing the major players. So now we got the varsity team, the Trinity out there, right? So now we're building a Justice League. So here comes Martian Manhunter. Here comes which, by the way, this Martian Manhunter, if you see him in the thumbnail, looks like something from Shade the Changing Man out of Vertigo. They've taken a completely different approach with him. I don't even think he's from Mars, this time around. But I haven't read it. But the Flash, I believe, is Wally West, but the other Flashes are there, but the circumstances are different. The Green Lantern, I think, doesn't have a ring. It's something about her powers that I've kind of tried to stay away from it. I know there are spoilers out there, but I'm trying something new these days. I'm trying to experience the shit as it comes out. It's really hard because I'm immersed into it. But I kind of like the feeling of some of the drastic things that I found when I started reading these books, because not a lot was, Snyder kept it, buttoned up. So you didn't find out about certain things until you read them. But after that, and everybody's on the internet and leaks happen. But the next 3 books that we're going to have over the next 3 months are coming up: Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, and then the Flash, all in those orders. So in the next 3 months, we're going to have the Justice League fully assembled. Now, on to answer your question, is like, okay, so in order for this universe to even be created, Darkseid dissipated himself, and once he took over, once he combined with the Spectre, and this is how. Is he coming back? In what form is he coming back? And he is a threat to the mainline universe as well. Because remember, the mainline stuff that's out there, the Detectives, the Batman, all those comics are running alongside of this. They are all, when you look at the labels, it says DC All In. That's their side of it. The absolute side is the dark side, and All In is everything else, like the Justice League and all that. So something is going to happen where Darkseid is going to be a threat to the multiverse, which I think is cool. That's how you use Darkseid. I have loved these books. Listen, if you're not a comic book collector and you're watching the stream, that's fine. But if you are thinking of getting into comic books and you don't, and like I said when we did our little our stream about how to get back in, and obviously the Absolute Universe was on the list. This is the time. If you're coming back, jump into this. If you've missed out on the issues, get the trade paperbacks. Because you're about to have 3 of them coming out, because they said they were going to release them once they reach 5 issues. Now that first arc, and then you'll release the second arc, and so on. I'm going to load up on those because I think it's important. If you have the cheddar to buy some of these issues, not all of them are overpriced. They're actually pretty. Mine are pretty thrifty as far as that goes. Even the variants I've kept down low because I want you to walk out with a haul and not just one book. So, but there are the stores that, it took them more money to get certain ones, and they paid a little bit more. Maybe they got them second, third market. But the trade paperback is going to be like $10, $15. $10, $15. If you destroy it, it doesn't matter. You can hand it off to somebody else. You can bring it back in here. I take trade paperbacks back and for credit if I need them. I love having trade paperbacks around because it to me, I call them collector builders. If you can't afford to buy, Kingdom Come, because it's, some of the issues are pretty pricey depending on where you go, then how about a $15, $20 trade paperback? So I had somebody bring in a Dark Knight Returns. I got 3 or 4 of those, but I want people to have those. So when we get Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, and Absolute Wonder Woman trade paperbacks, first of all, the covers are going to be blasting. If they're anything like they are now, they're going to be excellent. And that cover alone, and then the forwards and the afterwards and things like that. Some of the stuff that they'll be adding on to it. But like I said, I'm happy this came about. This is the best thing that happened in comics in I'd say about 7 or 8 years. And yeah, and not just comics. DC needed this. The numbers on these 400,000, roughly 400,000 copies of Absolute Batman #1, and that's just #1. We're not talking about number 2, 3. We're not talking about the reprints. So right there, when I say we will get adaptations of things once there's proof that there's business to be done. You're probably going to get an adaptation of these characters on some type of screen.
Oh yeah, because in fact, there was one question I wanted to. I'm going to pull up here. I can find it. It was about that exact point you were making. Damn it, where is it? I want to pull it up for
Should have put a star on it.
Yeah, I think it was Azteca. Yeah. Should WGB anime movies? No, it's not a matter of should they. It's a matter of when is it going to.
Yeah, it's going to be when. They might even do a movie or so.
Yeah.
You got to realize that Jim Lee is in charge of DC's print. He's got that. His office is right down the hall, I believe, from James Gunn's. They talk. They're buddies. You're looking for an IP you can farm. I think you could do very well with this. And like I said, the fan base is out there because you sell 500,000 copies of one issue, and that's just that. Absolute Batman outsold everything else, but Absolute Wonder Woman did. Absolute Wonder Woman crushes the regular comic. A lot of people are not liking what goes on in the current iteration of Wonder Woman with the kid and all that stuff. So I'll leave that for them. But this allows them to jump in. It's like welcome home, come back, welcome to, and welcome home. Absolutely, and he did this perfectly. And he said this at Comic-Con. We're creating this for a jumping on point for people who want to get it into DC and for a welcome home for people who have left. And he did it. He did it. I think that, like I said, and I said this before, and I've been saying this over and over again, follow Scott Snyder's lead in your own way. So whatever department you're in, if it's in film, it's an animation, anything, follow his lead and get excited about your project, man. I mean, the biggest salesman about the Absolute Universe and All In was his excitement, and then the people around him that he bought with him. Mark Wade's been doing this shit longer than Dirt. Never seen Mark Waid this excited about what he's about to get into, and that's what you need. He was so excited, and we were all excited at Comic-Con. I was excited before him when I saw it, and then he didn't just wait for the comic to come out. He was talking to people. He retweeted my stuff. I'm a YouTube nobody. Go look. Scott Snyder retweeted my reviews. So he's out there and he's generally behind what he's doing, and that's infectious. So I think that I think you almost have to at some point see this cartoon, adult animated cartoon. That's fine. That with the kind of wackiness that's in these comic books, a cartoon probably be the cheapest way to do it. Wouldn't mind that at all. And if that's the first time you see it as a cartoon, you don't have to have people go, "Wow, live action or nothing." Well, you went from paper to cartoon. That's an escalation. That's awesome. So I'm going to use the restroom real quick, and then we're going to come back and spend the rest of the shows answering the non-novel length questions. So I'll be right back.
Oh, I've muted this whole time. Oh, damn it. Okay, well, what I was saying a minute ago, I was concurring with William. Like, yes, I am absolutely loving what they're doing with Absolute DC. Well, like the way they've reimagined everybody's origin story. It's just been so enthralling. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with that with Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern and Flash. I made a little bit of a joke about like Wonder Woman. Yeah, growing up in hell. You could say Wonder Woman has been through hell. Yes. Oh, I'm absolutely muted. Oh, you guys have got some fun emojis there. Oh, well, now you can hear me. That's good here. We'll go back to Anthony's question. I mean, I don't know. Brave and the Bold and Absolute Batman, they're kind of like two fundamentally different sort of takes on Batman. So yeah, I don't see him I don't see him saying announcing it's going to be Brave and the Bold and saying I'm changing my mind. It's going to be based on Absolute Batman now. It's like the Absolute characters are all going to be kind of a package deal. So it's wherever you see like a kind of like a direct adaptation of Absolute Batman, it's going to be in the context of connecting him to Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman, and all the other Absolute characters. DC could always go down the route of doing an Absolute DC motion. Yeah, they could. And with this artwork they've had on it, I would totally be down for that. By the way, a little bit of a personal plug I'm going to share with you guys too. With my my work, in the kind of journalistic sphere.
Don't care. No.
Well, again, I primarily I've as far as like topics I've covered, I've mainly written a lot about movies and TV. A lot of it's been comic book based, but again, it's mainly been the movie TV sphere in my entertainment journalism career. But one of my editors at Comic Book recently came to me and said, "Hey, kind of basically brought me more of the comics beat on the comic books. Now I'm also, I'm writing actually on the topic of comics now. I've got a few of my first couple stories on that published in the last couple of days. And like Martian Manhunter. I did one on Absolute Superman, like already justifying a movie a couple months ago. So I guess you could say that's technically my first like proper like comics focused feature. But now again, that's become another subject I'm diving into now. So I got a couple that have been published.
It's like Brad gets swallowed up. Okay, well, lost his email. So let's see. All right, let's make sure I'm still alive. Yep, it's just me. All right, we must have lost Brad for a second. Darn. Yeah, I can't wait till those trades come out too, because like I said, some of the stuff has gotten a little pricey, but trade paperbacks you can get them; they're unlimited. You just get them. You trade. A trade paperback is literally back in the day when I was a kid. We would buy them, and we like I do here. We would trade them back in for credit. We would trade them back in for more storylines. And what that kept us going is we would still spend our money on our weekly comics, but at the same time, we could make up gaps in storytelling that we weren't going to be able to afford to do by buying the mainline comics, because they were expensive for us back then. And when you're 12, 13, 14 years old, 15 years old, money is tight. There's only so many lawns you can mow to get the comic book money.
Yeah, sorry, I clicked on I was trying to back into the I clicked on StreamYard. So
he's like Brad is your old uncle.
Oh, stop!
That tells you that why do we need color? This black and white is just fine. It's overrated.
As I was saying, in my entertainment journalism career, I've obviously done a lot with movies and TV and martial arts, and now new beat I'm jumping into. I'm actually jumping into comics journalism now, so you guys can check out all that on comicbook.com. That'll be another subject matter I'll be just diving more and more into in the it's kicking off now in the immediate future. So go and check that
please. out. And I had to twist his arm to put comicbook.com under his name. I got somebody from comicbook.com on all my channels. Put that on there. So yeah, every time I make fun of him, but yeah, it's cool when he has an article go crazy. Like the Zack Snyder thing was cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's good for him. That's good for the channel. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Zach definitely. I mean, without getting too much into detail, he definitely gave me a traffic boost there too.
Yeah, and clicks mean money. So I love the fact that happened for you. Both Batman are great. I love the Martha. Why did you say that name? Wayne's fantastic because of who Alfred is and absolute. I love Alfred in this universe. This whole, and I love the fact that he evolves. His thinking evolves.
Well, it starts out. It's like, I mean, it's portraying. He's literally a sniper tracking Batman at the beginning. I mean,
no. He's tracking the animals. He's trying to find the leader of the animals.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
But because Batman keeps interjecting, he wants to find them out, and he's watching Batman through his sniper scope. So that's where you're getting that from. But yeah, I love the fact that Batman knows he's there. He plays him. He's like, oh, here's your gun back, asshole. And he turns it into his lethal gun into a pellet gun.
Alfred is fucking hardcore and absolute Batman. It's like I want to see that, and that's the other thing about like seeing like adaptations, which again it's not if, it's when, of seeing like how they adapt this either to animation or what have you for absolute DC. I want to see this Alfred so bad. This is probably
motion comic. I saw some question that
this is probably the most badass Alfred I think I've ever seen, and like in anything, in comics, movies, TV, whatever. This Alfred's like this Alfred kick your ass.
Okay, so
Rhea says he's showing big. Oh yeah, in fact, actually, this is something I thought about bringing up. We were talking about ZSJL. Zach, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up here.
Who is Zack Snyder or
yes, Zack Snyder. Well, Scott Snyder does too.
Yeah, I didn't know. I stepped out, so I didn't know what Snyder we were.
Well, you made that mistake. It's like DC needs to follow Zack Snyder. Sorry, Scott Snyder. Really follow. If it really
follow Snyder, I think we would have been in a better spot. But
exactly.
Right now, Scott Snyder's the one.
Something about dudes with the last name Snyder, either writing comic books or making comic movies.
Inescapable destiny.
But so Zach a few hours ago, just go over around here. You can see, this is the article I wrote that he shared, and this gentleman Floyd Lawton did like this tribute video for Zack Snyders Justice League. It's pretty good, and just out of nowhere, Zach decides to share it. So sharing some big love to the fandom, and of course, as we all know, it's like he's stirring the pot, and he knows it.
William, can you imagine if they use Absolute Batman to influence and rewrite Brave and the Bold, and how I don't want them to do that.
Oh yeah, I read this earlier.
I want them to do a whole universe of it, doing all sorts of it, because this is so dramatically different. I mean, I guess you could, but I would love. See, here's the thing: though. I don't want the Absolute Universe being used as an influence. I'd rather it being used outright.
It was kind of like with Kingdom Come.
Yeah, I want to. Don't give me influences. Give me the thing.
Well, and plus, I mean, I said to Anthony earlier, it's like I just don't see like Gunn like announcing the Batman movie is going to be Batman Brave and the Bold, and then saying it's like no, change our minds. It's going to be based on Absolute Batman, because it's like again, you're using it's two very different like comic source materials for Batman. So once you committed to Brave and the Bold, you're kind of ruling out Absolute Batman as the basis for that movie.
I have been on the air for 850 some odd streams. I've done, it's almost over 2 years. I think Brad, you're coming up on your second year being with me, and it took that long to get a fucking Harambe reference on my show. I don't know if I could have gone any more time without that.
Imagine if we started streaming together back during COVID. I mean, we would probably got a lot of like Joe Exotic comments in the chat.
How you doing, Rhea? By the way, say hi. All right, she was raised in hell. Yeah, she was raised in hell, and yeah, it reminds me of heavy metal. Remember the heavy metal movie?
Yeah.
It reminds me in a very large way of that one character that's on the cover of is it called Hell? No, it's Hell. It's Hell.
It's Hell.
Yeah, it is. Technically, you could call it, but it's actually Hell.
And the thing they really there's like a whole probably like half of the first issue, Absolute Wonder Woman, it's just showing her life in hell. I mean, it's just showing her.
And, who gives her to her? Who's the god that gives her?
That was I think it was Ares. Actually, was it? I need to look at
it. It was Ares. Yeah. Something. And by the way, we don't know what she's done yet.
Yeah.
She didn't do it. The Amazons have done something, and she's the last Amazon, so something's happened to all the Amazon. But he says for the crimes that they've committed, and I don't believe we've had those revealed yet. So I bring on number 6. Superman suit's alive and his cape's alive. His suits does all kinds of stuff, and his heat vision is cool. It's not just a 2 beams coming at you. He like heats up everything. So you're seeing his target through the heat vision. It's kind of cool.
That's again, it's another thing where it's like we are going to see this brought to life, in some form or fashion. It's not half a decade is probably like on the liberal end of it, like an X-Men. This is going to be, you're going to see like animated stuff or something along those lines within the next 2-3 years of Absolute DC.
Yeah, I mean, because you got it, you have to do it now because it's popular now, and if you do it soon enough, you can help the comic sales and you can help your own franchise, because that Batman's relatable. That Batman is more relatable than our Batman. Because he's not, we're not billionaires. He's just doing it to protect his neighborhood. He's more of a localized guy. So it's going to be interesting to see him interact with when they all, because they're all going to come together. It's going to be weird to see him interact with a Superman, a Wonder Woman, a Green Lantern, a Flash, because I cannot wait to see that Justice League form.
Yeah, and that they established early on, like what we see with the Trinity. These are all the versions of them we see. These are all characters who not only haven't worked with other heroes, but would, the status quo of them, it's like they would not be working with other. It's going to be really interesting to see like what would bring together a Justice League, within the Absolute universe, because they are all very much solo acts when we first see them.
And I'm thinking it's going to be what it is in many other iterations. I think it's going to be Darkseid. I think the reemergence of Darkseid and we finding out what he really meant to be doing, what he's doing, why he did what he did. Because I can't think of anything else that would bring them together in that manner. So William is saying that Absolute Superman, the Kryptonian basically are caste system similar to the Middle East. Yeah, more like Metropolis. If you look at Prince Lane's Metropolis, the workers are a different class and everything else. Who wins between the Absolute Superman has more power. He can't control his power in the same way because of the way he was brought here and in certain circumstances. But I think that, just judging from what I read, Absolute Superman has got more power than Superman.
Yeah, that's actually going to be. I think that's going to be part of his arc too, is like learning how to rein himself in. Because he's starting out when we meet him. This Superman has a chip on his shoulder in a way that no other version has.
Yeah, that's definitely true. He's definitely not, like I said, he's jaded. So, all right. Does Absolute Batman basically get sent to Earth to live with Martha? I don't. That's not the way it read out in the issue that I read. I think he just ends up meeting them somehow because he's already, like I said, he may get to them, but it's going to be in a different way because obviously he's a kid. He's a grown kid. He's walking. He's talking. He's smart. He does his own experience. So that's going to be a different. He has the core values already instilled in him. So even if he meets up with Martha and Pa Kent, it's going to be a different interaction because he's already going to have. It's probably going to be conflicted because their values versus the values that he's already got instilled in him are going to be hard to change. So that's going to be a cool. Sorry.
Rachel asked me when will I start writing for THR. I mean, if I can, get my foot in the door, it's like, or like pitch the right article. I may start doing. I've thought about doing this in the last year or so, just kind of pitching, like longer features, to other outlets that just kind of relate to whatever like big releases coming up at the time. And what I mean by that, this would be like things that are longer than what I usually write for my work with Kung Fu Kingdom or Comic Book or Fortress. These would be kind of almost like behind the scenes things. Maybe I don't know if I'd be like, well, I haven't like lined one up yet, so I guess it's not like an NDA thing yet. But I know.
Are you about to brag yourself? That's gonna be hilarious.
But I mean, I know of other people that with other publications who have done kind of things in the vein of what I'm talking about. So it's like I got a few kicking around my head. I may want to start pitching around and maybe in the future. So you guys might see something like that towards me where the year's out. But THR and Deadline. I mean, again, if that opportunity opens up, I'd love to do it. So, but it's funny you should say that too, because I mean, I have everybody in my life, like in my immediate life, like people in my family, people in the dojo where I assist and teach. Everybody is telling me, Brad, you should write a book. everybody's trying to talk me into writing a book, and I mean, not that I have an entertaining idea myself. It's just that, I mean, that's a longer commitment, obviously. So, but again, I know people have like done. I interview people who've done like self-published books, and it's just something I need to like have like the right kind of angle or subject matter to sort of move in on. And then there's also the angle like, do I want to do anything that's like kind of like analytical, like what I do in the the news and journalistic sphere, or do I want to like write anything fictional? I'm kind of going back and forth on that. So, but keep your eyes peeled, and it's like maybe I'll finally pull that off in the next couple of years or so here.
All right, William, would Absolute Superman act like a nuclear explosion if his powers were not? He has a little bit more control over them than that. The problem with his powers is so when he first comes into Earth, as he's growing up into adolescence, he's absorbing the sun and he's learning his bodies, his powers are growing with him in a way that they did not in this universe, because he's just a regular person on his own planet. So by the time he gets here, his body's already grown to a point where the powers have not grown with him. So he wears the suit to regulate. And I'm assuming that any other Kryptonian that came through there would have to do the same, the same thing. It's kind of like when he was fighting Zod and Man of Steel, kind of like in the way it was Zod, he had an edge up on Zod because he grew into his powers on that planet. I'm thinking the way that it would be different with the Absolute Universe versus any other Kryptonian is that he was sort of born on that planet. He's a baby and he grows in, and in some universes he's a super boy. So I at some point he has lost ability or has not gained the ability to control his powers, and he needs that suit. So they haven't gone into much more detail than that. They've laid the groundwork to tell that story, but I don't think he would go nuclear because I don't think his body absorbs that much power.
Part of me still thinks like that suit might like that might be the twist. Like the suit like becomes like the absolute version of Brainiac. Part of me kind of suspects that might be where they're headed.
It has AI in it, so that's very possible. William, did you see the Absolute Green Lantern? Hal Jordan is the Black Cat. I have not. I've kept away from that. I'm going to read that as it comes out. I've not opened up any of Scott Snyder's emails that he sends us out. I've been staying away from it, just other than the cover art, and that's about it, because I really want to be wowed. I know it's hard, but I want to give it a try. So I'm giving it, I'm staying away from certain aspects until I have a chance to read them on the day, just like I did when I was a kid. Let's see. All right. If you're any of these 62, 68 people that are watching right now, right under our big heads, youtube.com/@the-sci-fi center. If you are watching on Twitter right now, I would love if you came over to the home base and subscribed and liked and did all that stuff here. Elon's not supporting the show. I got a gut feeling that he's not chipping into the Sci-Fi Center. So it helps us build the channel if you come over here and subscribe and you watch us over here. I'm glad to have met you on Twitter, don't get me wrong, but now that we've met, let's we don't need to stand on the porch anymore. You can come in and let's crack open a beer or a root beer or something like that. Come over to youtube.com/@the-sci-fi center. Also, the Twitch channel is inside. If you're watching on Twitch, one of you is watching on Twitch right now. In fact, thank you. Somebody just came over from Twitter to here. That's kind of cool. And thank you for following those instructions. If you were watching on Twitch, that's another one we're trying to build, another foundation of the channel we're trying to build. Get us on there. Like I said, it helps the channel. It helps me get a new mic so that I'm not sounding like an old 70s DJ. Listen, we can only do so much for Brad. At some point, we're going to have an intervention. He's going to have to. It's horrific. Actually has the new laptop in the house. He's not streaming from it. But like I said, we can fix that. We can fix that. That's fixable. Yeah. But yeah, just jump on over us, like, subscribe, do all of that stuff. The next time you will see me, we're going to do a lengthy stream tomorrow because it's going to be our Sunday night live stream. But it's going to roll into Leprechaun in the Hood.
Lep in the Hood, up to no good. So nice, they made it twice.
So we're going to be watching that because, and right as it turns 12 o'clock, so we'll do our standard show, and then right at 12 o'clock, we're going to do Leprechaun in the Hood. I might make a separate stream for it and just go from one to the other. I've done that before. But tomorrow night, midnight, when it turns to March 17th, and we are officially in St. Patty's Day, we're going to watch the greatest St. Patrick movie of all time. And then Tuesday, as we roll into hold on, wait. Hold on. So if we roll from Monday, damn, we got Daredevil.
Yeah, I was about to mention that because it's like we might need to, as far as like Daredevil, we might need to postpone that to Wednesday when we do the watch party for that episode.
Yeah, let's do that. I know we've been trying to do it, but we don't do it live anyway. So we'll do Daredevil on Wednesday because we only have one March 18th to celebrate. Yep. So we'll do Daredevil on Wednesday at 11:30. Like I said, if some of you watch the episode, that'll be great because I might watch the episode before then, and that way I don't have to keep making myself here.
Because we move it to the next day, it's like we'll have more time each of us to see.
Yeah, to actually watch it.
Yeah.
All right, so 73 of you out here, great. Thanks for being here. I think that's right where we're going to go and wrap it up. It's just about midnight right now. I got some stuff here to do at the store. Leopard Hood, yep.
Yeah.
What theory comment did you have? Okay.
Here. My theory on who Denzel is playing in Black Panther 3, it's Sebastian Druid because he said he's going to play a character and nobody really knows. Well, that could be like, that could be a character who's not from the comics too.
That could be T'Chaka because not a lot of people realize they know of him, but I doubt. Who knows? I don't really want to think about it right now because it's not even. There's no script yet, so I
did find that kind of. That's kind of like I did kind of chuckle at that where it's like when we heard that Denzel was going to be in Black Panther 3, that was kind of like that was sort of the de facto announcement of that there was going to be a Black Panther 3.
Yeah, and apparently he wasn't supposed to come out with that information, but he's Denzel, so he ain't getting it.
And he did that during like the Gladiator 2 presser, right?
Yeah, and he wasn't that information, but I don't think Kevin Feige is getting the sniper rifle out for Denzel. I think Denzel has reached the stature where if he made a mistake, he just made a mistake. Oops, sorry.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does exactly what he did in Gladiator 2, where it's like he's
Brooklyn
playing yeah, exactly. He's either a character in ancient Rome or a character in Wakanda. He's like, I don't care. It's like I got this unmistakable Brooklyn accent voice. I'm keeping it.
Wakanda is a borough in New York City, so and they'll be just fine with it. They'll be just fine with it, just like they were in Gladiator. All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow night for Leprechaun in our Sunday night live stream. Then the next day we celebrate and we raise some money for American Foundation Suicide Prevention. And then the next day after that, we do Daredevil episode 4. Holy shit, we're actually halfway. We're going to be
halfway through season.
Halfway, and then like I said, another 2 episodes. When the next ones come out, then we are halfway
block. Well, it's going to be a 2-episode block on the 25th when they drop. It's going to be you're dropping them 5 and 6 together. So I'm expecting something.
I don't even know why they're doing that. But
yeah, the only reason I can think of is that there's something pretty pivotal that happens in between those two.
All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow night for sure.
All right, later, guys.